OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
A very good morning to you. Welcome along to OTB AM this Wednesday morning, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, I hope you are. We're going to be helping you prepare for Christmas. Jess Kelly is going to come in and give us some tech gift ideas. We're going to talk with Graham Hunter about the Clásico tonight. It's a super bonus Christmas Clásico because the last one was, of course, cancelled, postponed in the wake of political protests. So a lot riding on tonight. It's going to be very interesting. Also, the game's going to be great.
The continental element to festive football is something that I wholly welcome. That's come in recent years. I think, was it there 23rd of December, Clásico last year, the year before? Like you had Dortmund against Leipzig last night, which ended up finishing 3-3. For people who got their finger on the pulse and actually kind of spread their wings a bit further than the Premier League and, of course, the Carabao Cup. There are amazing games on offer this time of year, so it's a bit of a treat.
Well, yeah, but is this the last year of football, winter break? We better not get used to festive football too much.
Well, festive football will maintain, won't it? It's just the staggered January break, which we already have to get used to from this season. Because, you know, we're greedy people. Amazon will come in with their big money next year.
It's fair enough, yeah. They're not going to change that. I thought they were going to eventually get rid of it. That the break would come forward to December.
God, I hope not. I really hope that doesn't actually get... by all means, take January football completely off the menu for the sake of player welfare. Don't take away our Christmas football. I
mean, originally the whole idea of winter break was the pitches are no good, and now the pitches are all great because obviously they can afford to have people working on them full time. So, do we need a winter break?
Like, are you talking about we, me, you, the general people?
Maybe we all need a winter break.
We absolutely do not.
To come back refreshed and going, okay, yeah, right, these are the things that we, go and turn around to your family and speak to them for a while.
The FA Cup fourth round already exists, third round already exists. That is enough of a winter break for me, those two shite weekends.
You could stick some international football in January, is that what you said?
And international football, if we'd automatically qualified, March would have been terrible. But thankfully, we're Ireland and we've actually got a lot of interest in March. So
we're good in March.
We're very, very good in March, and we're hoping that we'll be even better in March. So imagine being an English football supporter. The international breaks...
So boring now.
It's so boring.
Yeah.
You see, that's it. We just work day in, day out because we're Irish football fans. We have to be way more dedicated than anybody from England. So that's why we are feeling fatigued.
You've seen the story about the kid from Bayern who we've obviously been keeping an eye on for the last couple of years, who's actually really has played already international football for Luxembourg at underage level and wants to play for Ireland. Ryan Johansson is his name. Let me play for Ireland, begs Bayern teenager. This is the type of thing that endears you to a country, right?
Yeah, it really is. This is...
Or are we like, no, you can't play for us? How does everybody square this one?
This is a very unusual one.
What do the people who think Jean Klein shouldn't be playing for Ireland, despite the fact he lives here, have to say about Ryan Johansson, who's using his Ma's parents? His Ma's English, but born to Irish parents.
He's got an Irish mammy. And his Irish mammy is persuading him to go play for Ireland. And that is good enough for us. We may not have much in common with John Klein, but we have a lot in common with an Irish mammy that is forcing you to do things. That is what's happened to Ryan Johansson here. Go clean your room. Go play for Ireland. That's what the situation is.
To the point where they're taking FIFA to court.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a powerful Irish mammy.
It really is, but never underestimate the power of an Irish mammy. And that's it. So the situation is that you literally have to be... you have to have some sort of legal allegiance to that country before kicking a ball at underage level if you want to kick a ball for them at senior level. And because his mother's parents are Irish, rather than his mother actually being Irish, she was born in England, that's not actually been the case. So he needs to get an actual political transfer to Ireland as well as a football one. But that may not be the case now because he's played underage football for Luxembourg. So this is where the legal battle comes in.
Yeah, it's not a million miles away from Tim Cahill in American Samoa. Not a million miles away. It's not entirely exactly the same, given that he actually played for their senior team, but he got away with it and turned things around. So, it's kind of a vague legal precedent there where somebody made a bad decision and they changed their minds.
You should go and represent the team immediately. I hope they know about that loophole because I actually had totally forgotten about that. But what exactly happened there?
Well, now,
I'm putting you on the spot there, Mr. Lawyer.
As far as I remember, he has a 15-year-old who played international football for American Samoa in a game they lost 27-0. And this was supposed to rule him out forevermore from playing for Australia. But eventually, I think they begged, and FIFA went, yeah, okay, go on. Football in Australia is kind of important to us. It'd be good to have that entire continent be good at something that they're not currently good at. You look pretty good, so I mean there might have been some other legal elements to the case that a loophole was found, a lawyer earned their crust, and so look, I don't know. I mean, we're happy. We'll have this rich guy come and join our country. We're fine with that, but you know, we're like stopping people from who were born here from getting passports because we're Irish. Are we happy with this? Is this a good scenario?
We want to bring it back to the situation that FIFA thought it would be good to have good football in Australia. Well, we're future World Cup hosts.
Yeah, I mean, look, my Twitter was aflame yesterday with people giving out about English people saying that they were going to get passports from Ireland now because they qualify for them in the first place. And my Twitter was very angry at this. It was like, oh, we're not a consolation prize, buddy. Just because your mate's elected Boris Johnson, you can't now suddenly come and claim a passport. Even though they're actually entitled to one somehow. Not because, you know, they live in England and everybody in England is entitled to one. It's because they must have some Irish heritage. There's a bunch of Irish people, no, you can't have your Irish passport.
Unless you're talented at football.
So, yeah, so we should have like they do in Australia, you know, points thing. Are you good at the following things? If rugby, if you're good, we'll have you. If you're not, if we think you're not good enough, we won't have you. Well, it's complicated.
When they come to the passport office, just set up a couple of cones, try and dribble around them. Yep, passport for you, buddy.
That's about it, right?
That's actually a very sort of grim image, and only for the. I was actually considering going to get an English passport myself the other day.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure is that's a good thing to do, or is it just kind of a consolation? Not a consolation prize. It's something to just have. You know, you can go out and get things just because you can.
Yeah.
I was kind of considering doing that the other day.
And look, it would save you time, and you know, you could just flash it at the customs when you get there.
Manchester Airport, Heathrow, all those really annoying places in the world.
Yeah.
That's it. It's going to become a thing of the past now. The idea that we could all be one together in those long, arduous queues.
We're at the semi-final stage of the greatest moments of the last decade as well. We've got a big one for you today. It's Robbie Brady versus Katie Taylor. I think this could really have been the final. This could definitely have been the final in terms of the number of people who have picked both or either as their chosen one.
Possibly. Shane Lowry did romp to victory yesterday against Shane Long, something like 70% of the vote. So I think Shane Lowry is going to take some beating in the final, to be honest with you. I think he's going to win the whole thing. 24 hours ago, I thought Katie Taylor was the front runner after Shane Lowry's performance yesterday. Yesterday's performance from Shane Lowry was as good as the Saturday in Portrush. So
what was the score?
I think 70-30, wasn't it? It's something along those lines. Anyway, that's what it was after the first couple of hours, and you knew it was game over before they even got a chance to get into like the second half of the day's voting. So I think he's got a brilliant chance. There is a bit of recency bias going on. There is that new Teneo survey out this morning, some of the newspapers, about the best sports moment of the year, and Shane Lowry wins it. And I think there was a decade-long one done as well, and I think Shane Lowry wins that as well. But we are using the phrase memorable here. Things that happened recently tend to last in the memory a little bit longer than things that happened 7 years ago, or in Robbie Brady's case, 3 years ago.
Yeah. Nathan had a thread last night of best sports photographs, and there was a bunch of those that were absolutely amazing. And the Robbie Brady one of him and his missus and his brother after he scores the goal, that is pretty amazing.
It's a fantastic sports photograph.
Nathan had picked the wrong one at the back of his head. There's one from the side where you can see them all, which was much better. But anyway, not the most artistic eye.
You get the picture though. He expects everybody to know exactly what photo he's talking about when he gives the one that's not actually the photo. But yeah, like I don't. Nathan always makes the point that perhaps not enough was made of that moment. That he didn't actually have Robbie Brady on the late and stuff like that in the months after that, and perhaps that moment wasn't appreciated enough in 2016. That it was like, right, straight on to France. Okay, job done. On to the next tournament, sort of thing. Well, I don't know. You were there. Were you at the night of Robbie Brady goal?
Yeah, it was class.
Were you in London for Katie Taylor's goal as well?
No.
Okay. And like, there's been some debate about whether or not Robbie Brady is the best football moment we've had in this entire thing. I would have thought it would have been. Like, I'm sure as somebody who was there, you would say it would be as well. But no, I think it stands a chance. I think it's something that sent the whole country into mayhem, really. And Dublin City Centre that night was Robbie Brady goal because, of course, I was stuck in Dublin. I wasn't in.
It was good, was it?
Yeah, it was hopping.
A good night, yeah.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But after the office went around, just went for a wander, and then Dame Lane was kind of very close to here. Just everybody out in the streets singing, people up in shoulders. Just
good weather.
The place absolutely thronged. Yeah, middle of the summer, dry. That's all you can really ask for. And then Harcourt Street, similarly hopping that night as well.
Yeah.
Work the next morning, not hopping.
Work the next morning?
Like next afternoon, actually.
Yeah.
So it was handy.
Come on, it was fine. What are you talking about?
Oh, totally fine. Yeah.
And also, not a bad show to be doing.
Yeah, like, I mean, Nathan then came into work, but had sent back from France the next day his Sistine Chapel. Like, if Nathan is Michelangelo, that's what we got back. And it was...
He was blinded by the work?
He was blinded by the work. It was absolutely glorious. We just could not believe what we were listening to.
Well, what was it? A montage?
His montage, yeah.
All right.
Well, we couldn't believe what we were listening to. It was very good, very good. It was very, very good montage, and I'm sure it's still available up on SoundCloud or wherever. And that's the best thing that came from the Euros after that point.
That's good that you remember that. I mean, it might have been an idea for us to bring the people that to get the response going, to help them vote for Robbie Brady.
Well, you know me, I sometimes think out loud, and I've just remembered it mid-sentence, to be quite honest with you.
Great work. 7:41 a.m. this morning. Here's what's coming up on the show. Christmas Clásico. I'm going to talk with Graham Hunter around about 8:05. It is Robbie Brady versus Katie Taylor at 8:25. The polls will go live. Sports news from Anne-Marie around about 8:35. Gift guy with Jess Kelly at 8:45. The McKenna brothers, two young fighting Irish lads over in California making a name for themselves. They were with us last year. Hopefully this will be an annual thing, and next year they'll bring a belt with them. And then going to talk about what you're thinking of this morning around about 9:15. You can use the hashtag OTBAM to give us your thoughts on whatever's happening. Time for the papers.
OTB AM.
So the Irish Times is leading with the World Club Cup. Jurgen Klopp's comments. FIFA's timing undermines tournament, says Klopp. He obviously was asked about Qatar's record on human rights and says, I have an opinion about that as well, but this is a real serious thing to talk about. I think the answer should come from people who know more about it. I have to be influential in football, but not in politics. People in politics have to be influential. I like you asked the question, but I think I'm the wrong person to answer. My personal opinion about homosexuality and all these things, I have one, of course. I think we should be treated equally. That is clear. We don't have the time to judge things when we are here. So that's going to be a continuing story in the background. Monterey versus Liverpool is on at the Khalifa Stadium in Qatar from 5:30 p.m. this evening. Villa teach Liverpool's youngsters lesson about reality of elite level. 5-0 for Villa at Villa Park against Liverpool. And Ancelotti agrees to take over at Everton. This is a story that when it was first mooted, everyone was like, nah, Carlo Ancelotti at Everton. But it turns out that is now. So like if you can get Carlo Ancelotti, then every manager in world football is available to most Premier League teams because they have the money for it. So Diego Simeone, if you want a good world-class manager, go and get him. Just offer him whatever money it takes.
It would be the most Everton thing ever if Carlo Ancelotti turned out to be past it. If they were the first club to be the proprietors of past it, Carlo Ancelotti.
Security, the focus says Real Madrid and Barcelona prepare for Clásico is the headline on that one. And then Gordon Darcy has a fairly upbeat column to end the year. Green shoots emerging in aftermath of World Cup failure. Got interesting stuff about John Cooney. Take John Cooney, the standout player this year, avoided having to bow and utter arigato gozaimasu.
I didn't really get to the second word during my time there.
Gozaimasu. Arigato.
I think that means thank you very much.
At every turn, because he didn't get to go. Right, that was the point. I'm labouring this. A narrative is now being built around Cooney versus Conor Murray regarding who will become the starting scrum half. I doubt that ever became a genuine debate in the national camp before this year because Cooney's excellence came from a game plan Dan McFarlane sketched around his scrum half making all the key attacking decisions. Dan McFarlane looked at John Cooney and went, you're going to be in charge of deciding when we go and we don't go. And obviously, with Schmidt, the scrum half's job is to get the ball to Tony Sexton. Mm-hmm. That's not how Schmidt's Ireland worked. Cooney has carte blanche to speed up and slow down the tempo, kick or punch holes with everyone else expected to get on his page. We're watching the form player in Europe because the Ulster front five are gifting Cooney the inches to show his job. Except on Lions tours, Murray has always played in a system where he's beholden to the game plan. He's a key link in the chain. That's what made Ireland so successful in 2018. Cooney is allowed to go off script. He's encouraged to play ball. Make him operate in a prescriptive plan where Murray excels and he struggles. Which is an interesting point. That
Yeah.
And so now it's up to Mike Catt to decide how we're going to play and what we're going to do.
It's an interesting idea of like how strong your philosophy should be as a coach, regardless of the players you have at your disposal. Like, how much does John Cooney influence what Dan McFarland's Ulster is on a philosophy level, or is it John Cooney actually thriving because of Dan McFarland's philosophy? The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but I think there's no question, especially from reading that column, that perhaps Schmidt was too regimented to allow anybody like John Cooney to come in fresh and actually affect things differently, to give that carte blanche that he mentioned. So it's interesting. There's one other interesting line in that column as well, just on a very kind of small level, like unless this is a joke that I'm not in on. Like he mentions Marty Moore obviously being back in the Ireland squad, how he could, he's obviously could be back in his tight head, and wonders if Andrew Porter could go back to loose head at the moment. And like it's put in brackets, there's only a small line by Darcy in here. Perhaps it's tongue in cheek, I'm not so sure, but it's an interesting thought that this is a guy who's actually moved over fairly recently, and perhaps to come back. Like, I know we're actually fairly well positioned in those two positions at the moment. That it's certainly not a dearth of options, but perhaps it's something to keep an eye on if Gordon Darcy's mentioning it.
Don't tight heads get paid like way more money than loose heads? Like double?
That's why Porter was reinvented as one in the first place, because there were no tight heads.
Well, because it's a more difficult position, harder to lock down. Like, I wouldn't be moving back if I was him. I'm all right, thanks. But we need you. I'm all right.
He's probably, like, he's still ahead of Marty Moore in the pecking order, obviously. Like, Moore's obviously just come back into proceedings, so I wouldn't be worried from his perspective about who's next man up at the moment. Back page of the Times is Giles wants county overhaul. This is a cricket story, and also backed by Trump ally. I'm not sure if you've seen this story. Mike Pompeo has come up to back Mesut Ozil in his stance against China. So he says that the country's banning of Arsenal matches on television could not hide human rights violations. So it's interesting. Like, Mesut Ozil, obviously a bit of a spider web of political ideas, obviously associating himself with Erdogan. I think most people would probably be on his side in this current one, with his standing up for the persecution of Muslims in China. And then all of a sudden the Trump administration are on Ozil's side in all of this. Like, just the exact tweet from Pompeo, for anybody who missed it, was China's Communist Party propaganda outlets can censor Mesut Ozil in Arsenal's games all season long, but the truth will prevail. The CCP can't hide its gross human rights violations perpetrated against Uyghurs and other religious faiths around the world.
The Trump government on the verge of doing a massive deal with China. Absolutely massive, so they clearly don't care.
They really don't.
No.
They do what they like with their Twitter account. Yaya Toure is also waded in on this. I'm not sure if you've seen these comments. Like, I was never quite sure if Yaya Toure would be a yes, go for your political beliefs, or no, don't go for your political beliefs kind of guy, because birthday cake saga would suggest that he cares a lot about little things, but maybe he doesn't care a lot about the big things. He says footballers have to stay with football and politicians to politics, because you cannot be involved with this kind of things, because it's going to attract a lot of problems and a lot of things. As a Muslim, it is complicated, and it is his choice. This is in relation to Ozil. He's been doing his comments, but I think he was wrong to say that. It's also mentioned in the piece, of course, as well, that Kennedy was sent home from China in 2017, but in their tour of China, or their tour of Asia at the time. But I think that was more to do with kind of borderline xenophobia rather than any sort of political statements, to be honest. Kind of a strange Snapchat story, if I remember correctly, posted by Kennedy at the time.
I don't remember that.
It was some sleeping security guard in an airport, and then I think he posted some remark on a story at the time. So I don't think these two things can be equated, to be honest. The Kennedy situation and the Ozil situation, they're vastly different. I think Ozil was taking a very admirable stance, and Arsenal probably not covering themselves in glory with how they distance themselves from
Arsenal doing exactly what the league wanted them to do, though. This is the exact same situation as has happened in the NBA, where the league made sure that everybody towed the line because so much money is on the line. A reminder about our competition all this week, with thanks to Best Menswear. We've got some prizes, brilliant gift guides each morning to help you in the build up to Christmas. A little later on, we're going to be bringing you the OTB AM gift guide to tech gifts with Jess Kelly. We'll also have a €150 made-to-wear best menswear shirt up for grabs. To enter the draw, we're asking you to send us a photo of your favourite tech discovery of 2019 with hashtag OTBAM. That could be anything from a new fitness tracker to playing OTB Sports Radio on your smart speaker. Get in touch with us using the hashtag OTBAM. The Herald. Red Eye still on big prize. Milner, we won't be distracted by this trip. So James Milner has obviously done a bit of press and says that Liverpool aren't going to be distracted by the World Club Championships. And Bayern Ace bids to save Irish dream. The family of Bayern Munich starlet Ryan Johansson have sought legal advice in a bid to keep his dreams of playing for Ireland alive after FIFA rejected an initial appeal to their decision to block his switch of allegiance from Luxembourg. So this is the story that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Johansson has played competitively for Luxembourg at underage level while working off the assumption that he could switch at any point. Did play under 19 in a friendly for Ireland last year, but FIFA now stopped him from making a full switch because he lined out for Luxembourg before formally going through the process of securing Irish citizenship. Should a 15-year-old have to secure their citizenship? I mean, it does seem like FIFA being a bit dickish.
There is some suggestion as well that, from Johansson's camp, that Luxembourg might have been aware of this before he was actually played, and
so they trapped him
a little bit.
I mean, it's like what we should have done with Declan Rice and Jack Grealish.
Except for the fact that they had a real claim to be English, like they were born in England.
Yeah, but we should have trapped them. Played them as 15-year-olds in a competitive game for 30 seconds.
Like the situation is that the reality wasn't actually too far from that. Well, they were only a few years older than that. Oh God, it's still painful.
Getting rid of
was that this year?
Being rejected?
Was Declan Rice this year?
No, it wasn't. Was it?
That's
I don't think it was it?
God, it just gets more and more painful every day. Irish Examiner this morning. New Year's resolution. Darragh Fitzgibbon pictured on the front. Cork's attitude and work rate will improve. Donald Lenihan. It was this year, was it?
February 13th this year.
Wow.
Valentine's weekend.
Oof.
Just to break our green hearts.
Valentine's massacre. Donald Lenihan. English clubs not giving Champions Cup respect it deserves. Top billing. Katie Taylor, far and away the nation's favourite sports person. Catalan Cauldron, tensions high as Barcelona host Real Madrid and Clásico. And men against boys as Klopp and Qatar. Villa show no mercy to Liverpool's young guns. I just want to touch on Kieran Sheahan though. The world golfer of the decade is the Irish sports person of the decade, so it's on the back of the Irish Examiner sports section this morning. Starts off the column by talking about that Forbes graphic that was doing the rounds last week. I'm not sure, did you see that?
I only saw it. He linked to it somebody linked to it underneath the tweet of the piece, which I read last night.
It's fascinating, where for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's this gif basically of earning money. Of earning money since the 1960s or 70s right way up to this present day. You have some people who just have so much longevity at the very top, like Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, right the way through the 2000s.
Jack Nicklaus, and then Arnold Palmer.
Well, that's the thing. And then some people who just shoot ahead of the curve ridiculously at certain moments in time. Floyd Mayweather being the obvious one. But he mentions, obviously, Rory McIlroy being the highest ranked Irish person, really. Managed to get into the top 7 throughout this graphic. And it just kind of reminded him of what Rory McIlroy has done. And like more PGA Tour wins than anybody this decade. It's kind of something that we forget. And because of the lack of recent majors, we kind of forget the fact that this guy's won 4 majors this decade. It's a conversation that we kind of briefly had before we got into the moments of the decade that perhaps we didn't really appreciate. What was it, 2014? Is it 2014? It does seem like a long time ago enough when he won those 2 majors in the one summer, when he won in Royal Liverpool after winning the US Open, and how we were witnessing perhaps the greatest Irish sports person of the decade in his full pomp at that moment. And the excitement that came from that, the Nike endorsements, the true greatness of a figure who was at the very top of his game, like Roy Keane was back in the day. And like, I completely accept that argument when people talk about Ireland's greatest sports person. It is how you compare them to the rest of the world. Rory McIlroy has stood up to the rest of the world and has beaten them more than anybody else has beaten them on the PGA Tour. Like, he has to be in consideration. Kieran Sheahan says he is by distance the Irish sports person of the decade.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
It is hard to argue.
Who's in consideration?
So, other deserving contenders, Katie Taylor hasn't just dominated her sport, she's elevated to heights only she could have imagined. Stephen Cluxton is mentioned for the Free in 2011 and then turning it around by being a captain. mentions Jason Smith, mentions Gary Keegan, Billy Walsh in terms of bringing a high performance mindset to Olympic sport, and Jonathan Sexton obviously as well, kind of like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, but will never be seen in these lists because of rugby's limited reach around the world.
So he'll never be seen on the Forbes list, right? Obviously, because he's not going to make the same money as any of those guys. But in terms of our best sports person over the last decade, like, is there a single GAA player that stands out over this decade as
much as Cluxton has?
Maybe it's Cluxton, is it?
I would have thought so.
Cluxton's the nominee. From football, is there a hurler this decade? Like Shefflin Bridges, the 2 decades, so no.
Joe Canning, potentially, but even then, it's one All-Ireland medal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take you anywhere near the level of Stephen Cluxton.
Paddy Marr would be the closest. Would he?
Paddy, Brendan, Noel McGrath. Like, it's Seamus Callanan, maybe. Well, one of that cohort of people who've been around for multiple.
Yeah, maybe Callanan, but like, yeah, and then so in a bracket against Rory McIlroy, his achievements are crushing all of them, right?
McIlroy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, definitely. It's.
Why can't he get no love, Eoin? Why can't Rory McIlroy get no love?
It's a good question, because you sometimes need to read a piece like this to remind yourself almost of the very, very blindingly obvious.
People from the south don't like people from the north.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. But talking on to that.
That's what it is.
There's certainly an element of that.
There is. It's mostly that.
And there is an element of not liking some things that.
If Rory was a
McIlroy
Dove, or if he was from Cork, or if he was from Kerry, he'd be the most beloved. If he was from Offaly, he'd be the most beloved Irish sports person.
There were other things as well. I mean, like the breaking up via text.
The self-confidence. The fact that he has confidence
playing
in
golf
himself.
with Trump. Like, there are other areas that you can touch on rather than just.
Yeah, they all get a mention, but it's mostly.
To be fair, you're probably right. It probably is just the north-south divide thing, but I don't know. I don't see. I'm trying to think of anybody else that we would kind of refer to in kind of similarly sneering terms, because that is quite often the tone that McIlroy is discussed in. But I think it's to do with his personality rather than his achievements.
Piece in the Herald from Conor McKeown talking about what's next for Dessie Farrell. He's gone back and parsed the book. I think it's actually in the Indo that he's done that piece, is it? So this is in the Herald. Maintaining harmony among squad is first major challenge for Dessie Farrell, and he's talking about Colin Pascal, Darren Gavin, Cian Murphy and Conor McHugh being the most likely ones to get... it is this piece, yeah. So it's 14 years ago that Dessie Farrell wrote his book, Tangled Up in Blue, alongside Sean Potts. And he's just drawn some parallels between a very high-profile goalkeeper who was influential in Mickey Whelan's tenure not being as successful as it might have been, and saying that he's going to have to get Cluxton on side pretty quick. Yeah,
making the point that Mickey Whelan tried to put his own stamp on things a little bit too quickly. He obviously had John O'Leary there at the time, who was an iconic goalkeeper. I keep banning that word around too much, but he was at the time. He was a forefront goalkeeper, an All-Ireland winner. Mickey Whelan comes in fairly strong in what he wants to do with the squad. A couple of the players over 30 as well, perhaps a little bit too strong with them, and Dessie's obviously mentioned it in his book, and it is something that he's seen firsthand, and that is one of the things that he now has to deal with. Just the acceptance that Cluxton will probably have to leave in his own time, but the problem is, well, not the problem, the great thing is that when he leaves in his own time, chances are he'll still be the best goalkeeper in the country. He's just a bit above everybody else at this time, that you're not actually hanging on to somebody for sentimentality. Then there's the other side of the thing about the players over the age of 30, the likes of your Philly McMahons and your Keane O'Sullivans, who've made no suggestion that they're going to leave the panel. I'd be shocked if any of them left the panel at this point, and what you do with them, because they all would feel that they have a part to play, and perhaps they actually do. And then I guess there is like the players that he'll have to unearth in inverted commas, and I was certainly mentioned, like we've spoken about a few of these guys before, but Darren Gavin in particular is one of those players who during the league I think we were all impressed by. I think I would have made the prediction that he was going to break into the team, he was going to be the star this summer, he was going to be the person alongside Brian Fenton that would be starting midfield in an All-Ireland final, and then injuries got in the way and it didn't happen for him, but he's certainly one person that you can expect to just go forward next year. In my opinion, Darren Gavin, but granted I'm only judging him on league performances, haven't really seen much from him in the Championship, but he looked unbelievable in the league this year, and looks every bit the player that you'd expect from a starting double midfielder. At times he does anyway, so Colin Pascal, Cian Murphy and Conor McHugh are the other players that Conor McKeown has picked out this morning as players that Dessie should be looking to bring through.
The Irish Daily Mail, their back page is "You're a joke." Politicians up in arms as FAI go missing again. The FAI have run into a gauntlet of political flack, refusing to attend today's Oireachtas hearing. This is just an interesting little wrinkle of what's going on at the moment. For the second time in 6 days, the association's senior figures pulled out of a potential grilling by the Joint Committee on Transport, Tourism and Sport. Fine Gael's Fergus O'Dowd, the chair of the committee, said he was very disappointed at the decision, while Sinn Féin's Jonathan O'Brien labelled the FAI stance a joke. In a tweet, O'Brien said of the FAI, "You had no problem asking the public for a bailout, but you can't answer questions in public about the very situation that brought about the need of bailout." The FAI, the new executives who are facing these questions are in a difficult enough situation that they don't have all the facts established just yet, and they don't know the answers to some of the questions about what happened historically because they're new in. So, like, I can see why they're saying we're going to take our time to make sure that we get stuff right, because if you go before the committee and put in a performance of hemming and hawing and looking evasive, then people are going to associate you with what's going on beforehand.
Yeah.
But actually, you're not being evasive because you're trying to evade the answers. You're just probably not in a situation yet where you've had the opportunity to get in and establish all the facts. So the FAI defended its position, explaining the immediate focus of the board was the financial restructuring necessary to safeguard jobs, the FAI's financial future, and the appointment of an independent chairperson and 3 independent directors. So they're saying, like, look, you told us to do all this stuff. We're going to do all this stuff. Shane Ross is there today. John Tracy and Kieran Mulvey are going to be there from Sport Ireland. But really, it's the role of Shane Ross in all this, like, over the last period of time. And the politicians generally that need to be, a little bit of a mirror needs to be shined back in that. I think it was Mark McCadden on Twitter last night was saying he's sick of the politicians giving out about the FAI, when, bear in mind, the politicians fecked the country up and needed a proper bailout. Somebody at the weekend was talking about, I think it was on the pay-per-view, they were talking about, this is all, it has the bag of the IMF. It was like, but the IMF were literally coming in to save our country because the country went bankrupt because of the politicians who were running it. Completely, this is like...
It's giving them a bit too much credit calling them the IMF, isn't it?
Well, this is a small bit of debt, right? That, like, if they were to park the stadium debt, would it actually be not that unmanageable? It's not a great situation they find themselves in, but it's not a situation where it's unsalvageable or unfixable. A new commercial focus from the new executives with the existing commercial team, obviously, are going to find sponsors who want to be associated with football because it's the biggest sport in the country. Like, the FAI is easily fixable from this point. But
going into election year as well, like, this is Shane Ross's thing now. This is how he maintains his exposure.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to bring you the Connacht Telegraph. Actually, just a quick story to mention there. Another controversy for Mayo County GA board to handle. So there might be looking at a couple of for the Connacht Council delegate race at the Mayo GA convention at the weekend. There was a miscalculation in votes. The Connacht Telegraph has learned. So a vote for 2 positions at Sunday's annual GA convention in Belmullet. Both Vincent Neary and Ardnary's Johnny O'Malley were declared elected. But there's thought to have been, according to the Connacht Telegraph, a misappropriation of second place and third place votes, and there may need to be a reassessment of who is actually going to be Mayo's Connacht Council delegate. So a bit of a nuisance for them at this moment. Back page of the Mirror this morning is gun deal done. Arteta will say yes to Gunners after sitting next to Pep tonight, so that seems like it's pretty much done.
yeah.
And just a couple of the last papers then. Racing Post, plenty in reserve. Insatiable City should ease past Oxford in League Cup. The Guardian, Ancelotti agrees Everton deal. Italian set for Premier League return after decisive talks. Also, Young Reds taught a lesson, beaten 5-0 by Aston Villa last night. The Daily Telegraph also going with that. You can't win anything with kids is their headline. And the Daily Star, finally, for me, Art of War. Mikel to lead Gunners into battle as new boss.
Yeah, OK, we're going to head over to talk to Graham Hunter in just a minute about the Christmas Clásico. We'll talk about Mikel Arteta as well. We'll be back after this.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio. Off the ball.
If Keane was managing Pogba, he'd never sleep. Pogba's a social media star, right? He appeals to the young people now. He does his dance, he has his hair and all that. That's all he's worried about, in my opinion. He's not worried about being a great player, Nathan.
Off the ball. Weeknights from 7 and weekends from 1.
From true crime believers to science and business achievers, sports, arts and comedy to the latest entertainment wannabe. Get political, get healthy, get educated. Get all your favourite podcasts on Go Loud. Download the Go Loud app now or add us on your smart speaker. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio and music to your ears.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Boom. Right, there's a Clásico tonight. Not everybody's aware of this. I think this has probably come unannounced to many of you out there, but there is a Clásico tonight. It's an early Christmas present for us football fans, and I'm delighted to say Graham Hunter is with us on the line to talk to us about some of the backdrop to this, which is not just the fact that the teams are neck and neck at the top of the table, but also fairly remarkable build-up to this game, Graham. Both teams are going to be arriving from the same hotel, the biggest security operation around a football match potentially ever in Spanish football. What's going on here, Graham?
First of all, congratulations on your sort of Jake LaMotta approach to the morning. The news breaking here is that you're geo-blocked in Geneva.
All right.
Your Mesut Ozil moment of FIFA being a bit dickish. They're not watching you in FIFA HQ anymore. And then you have a pop at your brilliant, well-educated audience by saying they're unaware that there's a Clásico. Are you mad?
I know. I mean, some of them, it's Christmas. Everybody's out doing shopping. They're like, hang on, there's a Clásico tonight. What?
Everything else you said was true. There is something called the democratic tsunami. And because so many Catalan politicians were jailed back just ahead of when the Clásico was scheduled, 7 weeks ago, the game should have taken place about a week before that. The sentencing took place, and there were really widespread social protests all around Catalonia and Barcelona. We talked about them. Your station covered them. And at that point, in my opinion, a mistaken, an erroneous decision was taken that the game couldn't be played safely. I think that was wrong. But you are quite correct that the local policing, it's still not a national affair at the moment. So the Mossos d'Esquadra are saying that this is the biggest exercise they've ever mounted, certainly in living history. And it's to try and make sure that fans and players alike can get to the Camp Nou safely, because the democratic tsunami have called, they're calling it a strike here. It's not. It's protest, because Barcelona is not a gigantic city. It's relatively easy for protesters to, if not close the city's transport down, to make it very, very difficult to get around. It's a busy city, and therefore there will be protests at whether it be the metro or the trains, certain road arteries, and the Camp Nou will be surrounded by people protesting for two things: Catalan independence and that the what they call political prisoners should be freed. And you're right, anybody who's been to Camp Nou will know that in the northern approach, where you come out of the Metro Maria Cristina, as you head down the hill where the motorbikes park in the middle of the road, where La Masia, the original La Masia, is on the left-hand side, right at the top of that is the infamous hotel. It's been a football hotel for as long as it's been in existence. It was the Princesa Sofia. It's now called Reina Sofia. And it's a luxurious five-star hotel at the top of the hill, about 3.5 minutes walk to the Camp Nou. The players won't be walking, but you're right, they're both lodged there at the same time. Kickoff's 8 o'clock. The teams are expected to get to Camp Nou sometime just after 6 to be in tons of time for what is, now that we've dealt with that, a potentially beautiful match, because these sides are so evenly paired in all aspects. And in my opinion, there's a slight hint of Madrid arriving in better nick.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Why do you think Madrid are in better nick at the moment? There certainly seem like there's a brio about their young players, which has inspired their older players to remind themselves, actually, we're really good too.
There's a complete change in fitness and attitude from last season. The attitude is obviously primordial, because you can get players fit, and if they're not willing to run after people that break lines, then it doesn't make that much of a difference. But for example, I'm not necessarily saying he'll be the stand-up player tonight, but Toni Kroos is literally unrecognisable from last season when he was dialing in performances and letting players from much, much lesser teams run past him. He didn't look as if he was that bothered anymore. He does now. Maybe that's to do with something fully personal, the new contract they gave him. Often you give stars new contracts and people will say for months afterwards, well, look at them, they're relaxed, not Cruz, it's a big change. But maybe it's also about the personnel around him. In midfield, they had a big issue because Luka Modric at 33 last season, just off the back of playing constantly season after season in the World Cup, was a shadow of himself. He's now allowed to be in and out of the midfield, but he's fresher, far more effective and wily as a result of the Casemiro-Valverde partnership. Often they play four in midfield or an oscillating three up front, four in midfield, depending on with or without the ball. And Valverde, while still being deep in the throes of development, his ability to run and pick off areas where either Real Madrid are about to be threatened or where he can be the first line of pressing from the midfield has given Casemiro a lot more time to judge what he does. Therefore, that four of a unit, even if it's Isco instead of Modric, gives Real Madrid a beating heart whereby the back four are better protected. Courtois is having to do less panic work. He's improved out of all recognition. He's playing Atletico Madrid level football. And I'm not for a second saying that Madrid are miles ahead of Barcelona, but they arrive here with fewer players who are either just back from injury. Alba's just back from injury, doesn't look quite ready yet. Fewer players who look jaded. Longley has had a fantastic season and is adored by his fellow pros at Camp Nou, but has begun to look a bit jaded. Stegen is in the middle of the best season of his life. Yet in the last two league games, he's made big clangers that have cost a goal each time. And little details like that can be influential in the build-up to what will be a high-tension, high-octane, high-entertainment match right across 90 years. They're balanced in La Liga at 72 wins apiece. How does that happen, lads? And across the entire history of the Clásico, Barcelona are ahead by one victory. It doesn't seem possible to me, but it's true.
It's incredible. It seems this is set up perfectly for Gareth Bale to start and score the winner tonight.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with you. I think that although he hasn't given hints of that in the recent fleeting appearances when he's been flag waving or playing for Wales or recuperating from another minor twinge, it is his type of game. If he's on form and Barcelona are caught, they aren't athletically quite as good as Real Madrid. In recent years, even in the ones where Barcelona have gone like on 23rd December, this isn't the first Christmas Clásico by a long way, but 2 years ago, they went to Madrid, played rope-a-dope, and then ran away 3-0 winners. Last year, 5-1 at Camp Nou. Looks a brilliant scoreline. Was an extraordinary game, but at 2-1, Real Madrid were ripping into Football Club Barcelona. Should have equalised, should have gone ahead, hit the post, and Barcelona changed things, put on Dembele in midfield, and then pulled apart Real Madrid. But Barca have a tendency to be slightly less athletic, to be, when they get caught upfield, it looks like a Bale game. These two sides are a little bit more committed to catching the other one in the break than we've been used to over the last 10, 15 years, because the majority of games you've watched from the Clásico, and in the last decade, since May 2009, there's been 21 league Clásicos and 77 goals. It's the match that guarantees entertainment. Absolutely rock solid guarantee. 17 years since the last 0-0. But if Barca are caught with their pants down high up the pitch with the crowd urging them on, is this a Bale scenario where he gets released by a lovely Cruz through ball and he runs one-on-one in on Stegen? Yeah, I take your point, Owen, definitely. First goal, Bale, if you want to have a punt at it, do.
Notwithstanding all that, the point you made about the protection being afforded the Real Madrid back four, both defences actually aren't at the level that they want to be at. Like, neither of them are lockdown defences at the moment. They're both conceding goals, particularly away from home.
Yeah, I differ with you a little bit on Real Madrid. Real Madrid have looked increasingly solid. Do they look like a team that is dedicated to defence all over the pitch? Do they look as if it's our first priority is to not concede? No, I agree with you. And the closest I'll come to agreeing with you about Real Madrid is when they're ahead, they really don't have any interest in match management. It's like, yeah, we'll score another two, and if you get one, we'll score another three. That's their ideology. It doesn't always work. I think their goals against total is really very good. But if you look at their goals scored, there are two things to say about Real Madrid. Benzema is on utterly exceptional form. The last season and a half has been the years of his life since Cristiano left. All the experience he gathered playing domestique to the team leader are now showing with him as team leader, but they lack a second goal scorer. Their goal total is okay, but if you look across, particularly look at the Premier League, look at Barcelona, after 17 games, Real Madrid are 10, 12, 13 goals short from where they should be given their performances. I think Varane's having his best season since he was champion under Mourinho. Courtois back to Atleti form. Ramos is Ramos. I don't know, Ger. I think Barcelona are the ones where you're right. I think they do concede too many goals, particularly on the road. But here at Camp Nou, I'm in Barcelona today. What have they played? 7 games in La Liga. They've scored 30 times, but they've consistently conceded goals that look a little bit lax, a little bit silly. And I think both teams score today. I think that's a decent bet.
How is Messi playing?
Mad. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. He's producing moments of all-time genius. He's picking up personal awards everywhere. Since he came back fully fit, which was against Sevilla after 2 quite cruel injuries, particularly his calf injury, he's scored or created about 85% of Barcelona's goals, and they've been splurging goals. Last 3-4 games, Ger, I go back to, you both know the tale of when I first saw Messi. He was playing for Barca B, went along to look at this phenomenon, and I thought, what? I can't see it. It was about 2003. Couldn't see it because he wandered. He was lackadaisical. He almost looked as if he had a petted lip. Now, that's 16, 17 years and records ago. But at the moment, either he's a little bit tired because his pre-season was fractured by that really bad calf injury that took much longer to get back from than was expected, or else he's ticked off. And looking at him, he looks like a guy who's going in his head all the time. What? It's me. Why is it always me? It's always me. I have to rescue them. Look at that pass. Look at that. Look at the way we've been pressed. Look at the way we've given that away. Look at the fact that I've got. So in recent games, including his actually astonishing winning goal against Atleti at the Metropolitano, he's walked differently from when Guardiola said he's taking x-rays left, right and centre. Don't worry about it. He's storing information like whales sucking plankton. It's not the same now. He's giving the ball away. He's wandering down dead alleys. He's allowed to do that because what he keeps doing is either winning games or creating chances for other players to win games. But is he on full form? This guy who's won more Clásicos than anybody else, who scored more goals in the Clásico than anybody else? No, and what's more, in the last 5 Clásicos, he's only started 3 and only scored once. So I'm enjoying trying to unpick what is going on with Leo Messi in the way that the top numbers don't properly explain the underlying trend.
So what's your prediction for tonight, Graham?
2-2 on. 2-2. You knew that already.
2-2.
Both teams to score, I said. 2-2. Both teams are utterly committed to scoring and attacking. And therefore, in my opinion, it has to be both teams to score. If there's a slight favourite, I've already painted the idea that Madrid, who in the last 10 Clásicos in the league have come here and either drawn or won 5 times. They hate playing at home, Madrid against Barcelona. They've got a nose in front, but 2-2 is my prediction. And also, I predict entertainment, lush, lavish entertainment. Don't miss it.
Sorry, Graham, I just wanted to get your take on one last thing, which is Mikel Arteta. Back of most of the newspapers today, Art of War, it says, I'm on the newspapers here beside me, it's going to happen now at this point, probably going to sit beside Pep for the last time tonight. And it's interesting kind of looking at Pep Guardiola and all of this, how he's certainly putting on the front of allowing one of his disciples to go and spread their wings somewhere if they wish. But I don't think it is just a front. I think this is genuinely Guardiola's philosophy, whether it is a player or whether it is a coach. He actually kind of wants to see the best for them.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very thorny subject. Depending on how it's done, Owen, do you remember Pep Guardiola's face after the defeat against Chelsea in the Champions League semi-final, when that was the Wednesday, and on the Friday it was announced by Sandro Rosé that Tito Villanova was taking over because Pep had announced that he was quitting. That caused a schism between the two men. I do, you broadened it to talk about his disciples. If you're talking about Arteta, I think that Arteta has handled this in a manner which should mean that he and Pep and Manchester City are fine. And my personal opinion is that Arteta is taking on one hell of a task, and I would be ultra attentive to the way in which my agent was structuring this deal. And I would be saying that in the first 2 seasons, I'd have my agent right. In the first 2 seasons, if they went to sack him, they'd have to pay him the full 6-year contract. And I would make a heavy penalty for Arsenal getting rid of this incoming coach if Arteta does sign it, because there's so much work to do and progress can be so slow if Arteta isn't allowed specifically the right resources, and unless Arsenal dramatically improve the accuracy of their signings, either in personnel terms, what type of men they bring in, or what quality of footballer they bring in. The reshaping needed, not for a minor improvement, but to get Arsenal to where their sponsors, their fans, the media, the owners I want to put aside, think they should be. You both know there's a damn big job to do, and that takes time. Arteta isn't simply coming in as a novice manager, taking full control. The problems there are deep-rooted. They stretch back to the climate that Wenger created, and to change a squad and to hit the marks that people expect of you and to change a culture, that's an utterly gigantic task. And he needs to ensure, if he takes this job, not only that he's got some written guarantees about money available, that this market, next market, he's got to have written guarantees that that he can scare Arsenal off from saying, well, we're losing faith. The knee-jerk reaction is to get somebody else again. That's something I'd be putting a really strong marker down on. And as far as Pep Guardiola is concerned, it's a loss to him and it's a loss to City if Arteta goes. If there's something going on at the moment in Pep Guardiola's environs, it's the fact that relatively testing problems of the edge that he got out of the entire squad and the level of fitness of key players, particularly injury, has cost him. And that is having not a burnout effect, that's too strong, but it's eating away at the state in which Pep Guardiola needs to be in order to work at peak. And who can help with that? Well, a trusted, intelligent assistant who can put opposing views. And although Guardiola will always dictate, losing Arteta at this stage, even if Rodolfo Borrell steps up, even if there's a possible return for Dominic Torre, the timing isn't great for Pep Guardiola or Manchester City. I agree with you. I think Guardiola has ostensibly said to Arteta, I understand your predicament, you've handled it well. And if I'm not wrong, Guardiola is a tiny bit miffed at how Arsenal have handled it, particularly in the treatment of Arteta prior to appointing Emery. But wrap it up at Christmas time with a bow on it any way you want on. It's not good for Guardiola and it's not good for City.
Yeah, would you actually give Real Madrid a slight edge over Manchester City then in the Champions League?
It's way too far ahead. I said at the beginning of the season in August, Liverpool for the title, and unless the draw trips them up, Liverpool and Man City in the Champions League final is my opinion. And if they're kept apart, I think that genuinely, I don't think we're seeing a City which is miles off track. I was big and mouthy as ever about City going to Arsenal and pumping them, because I genuinely think that we're judging City by the extraordinary standards they've set rather than where they probably should be at right now. So a tip for City, Real Madrid right now, you're listen, I think you've used some, you're pissing in the wind because it's so far away. But have I doubted? Have I lost confidence in my initial tip that if the draw doesn't pair them, there is a firm chance of it being Liverpool, Manchester City in the final? I haven't wavered very far from that at all. No.
Right, that's interesting. Because I just think that it feels like Real Madrid are surging, and it feels like Man City are uncertain about where they are.
Play the tie right now, Jar. Play the tie, next weekend, and I'll be saying to you, Yeah, I quite fancy Real Madrid over 2 legs, no doubt about it. They're far fitter, they're aggressive, they're playing a brand of football they understand. It's extremely like the brand of football that Zidane got out of them in his first 12 months, and that's to include the 6 months after he took over from Benitez and the best part of the following season. It's very identifiable. They're short of a second goal scorer. Jovic isn't going to get there enough to score 12, 15 between now and May. There are 1 or 2 things that you tickle away at, but if it was being played right now, I'll be backing you to the hill. I'll be saying, let's get into this together and have a real shout at Madrid to put City out. When it comes to February and March, there's far too many battle scars that will be accrued between now and then to start saying now definitively it'll be like this. But in my humble opinion, City's edge, that hunger, that nastiness that maybe we've seen them lose a little bit in the Premier League, will be back in the knockout stages. That mental thing about what do we need out of our careers? Why are we here? What don't we have yet? That is a big element.
Yeah, we should come back to that because it's the one thing that you would say has been lacking from their Champions League performances so far, where in those big games, they're unlucky over 2 legs against inferior opposition. It happens once, you're like, okay, fair enough, it's a bit of bad luck. It happens repeatedly, you're like...
No. You're talking about the barest minimum last time against Spurs. I mean, the absolute barest minimum. They should have won, not just drawn at White Hart Lane. And the goal shouldn't have stood. And there was enough evidence that the refereeing team should have not let it stand. So they lost.
Yeah.
Spurs went on. Chapeau, that's football. Brilliant. But if you're saying that they've got this, lucky white heather, would you like to buy some, sir? Tendency to not make it. It's coming. I'm telling you, you can read matches like that 2 ways. And I'm saying to you, they're within a hair's breadth of making it all the way to the final. And again, unless, well, let's see what happens in February.
Yeah, and see,
I'm not wavering from my shout that both Liverpool and City are eminently capable of staging that final in May.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Real Madrid now, and I'm going to stick with it all the way through, and we can have this conversation again the week before the
Go on, babe. Well, in that case, I know what strip you'll be wearing tonight.
Yeah. Oh, no, tonight. No, absolutely not. But I'm a neutral, of course, in favour of Barcelona. But, right, Graham, good stuff. Thanks a million. Happy Christmas if I don't talk to you beforehand. It's Graham Hunter there. Obviously, loads of security issues we'll keep an eye on. Come back to you tomorrow if there's anything. There's the Democratic Tsunami group have organised 25,000 people, they say, and 4 rallying points around the stadium. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens with that. But that game tonight also is going to be very good. Well, so multiple reasons to watch it on and off the pitch.
7 o'clock kickoff as well. Beautiful time.
Not really. 8 o'clock much better for me, but anyway.
Better for me.
Busy reading the Gruffalo at 7 o'clock every night. It's 8:28. Right, we've reached the semi-final of our OTB Sporting Moment of the Decade bracket. It is Katie versus Brady to join Shane Lowry in the final. He romped home in a 69-31 win over Shane Long last night. Here's a taste of Katie Taylor's 2012 Moment of Glory.
Your lightweight 60-kilogram final!
In the red corner, representing Ireland, Katie Taylor! Seconds out, round 1.
So, this is how Robbie Brady's goal against Italy sounded on off the ball.
Well, is that it? Have we seen the moment pass? But it might have happened. Let's hope not. Houlihan.
Oh, Robbie Brady, you hero! We thought we'd missed our chance. We're 16. France, bring it on Sunday. What a cross from the right-hand side. And Robbie Brady gets between the defence and heads it past Sirigu. What a moment. What a goal. We're heading to the knockout stages. And don't Ireland deserve it? They've been brilliant tonight. They have killed this really poor Italian side. They've been all over them. We thought our chance was gone. Wes Hoolan, he didn't deserve to be the villain of this tournament. And Robbie Brady has got Wes. He's got Ireland. He's got all of us out of jail. We are surely going through to the last 16.
Yeah, what a delivery.
Great delivery. Who are you going for here? If you had to...
It has to be Katie Taylor.
Hover your mouse over one.
I'm going for Katie Taylor.
I'm going for Robbie Brady.
I can understand that, but I just think the pressure Katie Taylor was under, like, she'd been anointed an Olympic champion from the day that women's boxing became a thing. Like, the burden that had for the whole sport, like, poster child, you've got to justify your very existence again and again and again and again, and then for her to do it and just the release.
I agree. I agree with everything you were saying there. And to be honest with you, at the outset of this, I thought Katie Taylor was going to win. Now that we're here, and now that the pressure is on, when I look through this Twitter poll, and I have to actually make a decision on it, I kind of just feel like Robbie Brady brought me more joy this decade, than any other Irish sporting moment. Because of the unexpected nature of it. Because of, okay, not the unexpected nature of it, really, because it was a poor Italy side, but it was certainly a hell of a lot more unexpected than Katie Taylor winning gold in London. Like, that was relief. That was a huge dose of relief, because especially how the fight went and how a lot of people felt that she didn't actually win the fight. And then if you look at the other contender in this whole thing, in Shane Lowry, that was just kind of a slow release, whereas Robbie Brady was definitely the best course of energy of all the sporting moments this decade that are still left in this competition. So for me, I'm voting Robbie Brady.
On a personal level, Robbie Brady versus any Kerry moment?
No, God, no. 2014, beating Mayo, and that replay was unbelievable. It would have been this year. It could have been this year. No, of course not. Kerry moments beat everything else. But Robbie, the things left here, Robbie Brady, definitely gave me the biggest amount of happiness. Like, Katie Taylor that was an extremely satisfying moment, because it had been building for what seemed like an eternity, years. Like, she'd get the sport in, that she would finally be able to fight in the Olympics, finally got to her gold medal bout, and then did actually deliver, because it was terrifying watching that.
So I think there's still the same amount of explosive, because she wins.
Yeah, true, like, actually, in fairness, because you didn't know the way the decision was going to go.
If she didn't hammer, like, it wasn't this is the easiest victory you're ever going to have. It was like a proper competition in a fight that she could easily have lost.
Yeah, that's
it wasn't
point.
Michael Conlon. If she lost that fight, it wasn't Michael Conlon getting ripped off. No. It was like, well, fair enough.
Yes. So there was that. I guess there was a bit of ecstasy as well around that. They're both sensational moments. Just leaning towards Brady.
Yeah, I'm going Katie Taylor. You get your own pick on Twitter, twitter.com/offtheball if you want. For that, you can also get us on Instagram. The Instagram poll will be up there as well. We do get the opportunity to look back on a lot of things, because it is the end of the year. It's also the end of the decade, and we've been asking everybody for a decade in a day. Tomorrow, we've got full live, uninterrupted discussion all across the day on OTB Sports Radio. You can get that on the Go Loud app. You can get it on offtheball.com/radio. And we're going to hear who Brian O'Driscoll says was his Irish player of the decade on tomorrow's show. But first, here is Ronan O'Gara talking about the Irish player who stood out for him. This is interesting. Have a look.
This is a cheap and cheerful question, so you'll excuse me for this. Who's your player of the decade?
2010 to 2020, is it? Or 2009 to 2019?
Well, I mean, both.
Okay.
Can't say yourself for that Sterling World Cup in 11.
No. Geez, you know who I think has been standout for me? Cian Healy.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I just admire his temperament. I admire his drive. I think he's a seriously impressive player. Really good guy. And yeah, I think for me, I think he is. We're talking in a national context, is it?
Well, actually, I'd meant worldwide, but maybe give me your national one first. But that's your Irish one, yeah. Cian Healy.
Yeah.
Maybe we underrate him a little bit, do we?
I don't think he's ever underrated. No, I think, geez, he consistently does a great shift for Ireland every time I see him play.
Yeah.
I think what I like about him is his capacity to stay at the top for so long.
And he almost didn't with the injury. I mean, he was really in the
Well, exactly. But then he came back a better player, and then he came back a better player again. But he's been going a long time.
That's true.
So I think front row, you know, it's a dog of a position.
Yeah.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a good answer. What about internationally?
Internationally, in the same vein, I think Alwyn Jones.
Right.
Just, you know, I suppose I'm looking for someone who has done 10 years and consistently performing. He's someone that springs to mind. And I suppose over that period of time too, you know, someone like Bowden Barrett, I think, has been extremely consistent as well and has been world class and is a joy to watch.
Yeah, Alwyn Jones. Wow. Cian Healy.
Cian Healy did
that
not
was, that was left field.
Because if you're looking for somebody who has had the entire decade to prove themselves and been consistently extremely good, there's one out half there that would certainly come to mind, and it's a very easy option in Johnny Sexton. I'm very, very surprised you didn't say Sexton. Astonished, actually. Like, the first man since Keith Wood to win World Player of the Year. And then outside of that 1 year, he also had a brilliant decade as well. For me, it's Sexton, and then you can have an argument about who's second, but very, very surprised that Sexton was overlooked.
Didn't even get a mention. It wasn't even a consideration, it looked like. So it was Healy. I'm just trying to look up when Healy made his debut, but he certainly obviously played the whole decade. Alwyn Jones made his debut all the way back in 2006 for Wales.
13-year test career.
And he's only 34. Like, he's not 37, you know? He's been apparently talking about the World Cup, next World Cup, saying, yeah, I think I could make that. I mean, maybe he could.
Like, why not? Why not? He hasn't exactly shown signs of slowing down. It's just that he started so early.
He's only 32 as well. Now, 93 caps, Jesus, that's pretty impressive. And
like, you've got to give Cian Healy...
He started in 2009 as well.
Huge credit for the way he's managed to reinvent himself in the second part of the decade. Like, he was going up against a Lions loosehead and managed to wrestle the position away from him and take it back. Now, I know that sounds Jack McGrath's form perhaps not being what it was in 2017.
I think Jack McGrath's had like a long-term injury that we're going to find out about in years to come. Because like, he was an astonishingly good player, absolutely brilliant. And I don't think there's any lack of effort or anything going on with him. I just think he's injured, and that's my theory on that.
I still think Healy probably deserves a bit of credit for how he managed to get back the #1 jersey for Leinster and for Ireland, and then consistently deliver. I think if you're making an argument about Ireland's best player in 2019, Cian Healy is one of the nominees.
With the injury, pre-World Cup really screwed him over as well.
Yeah, I think
he never came back to the level that we knew he could be at. And we actually, like, if Ireland are going to make inroads, you need Cian Healy to be smashing whoever the equivalent is of Richie McCaw, to have that moment where it's like, oh, hang on a second. But I don't think he was as explosive in the World Cup as he would have been because of the injury that he suffered. Yeah,
I think so. I think prior to that, you would have given him probably Player of the Year, even though it wasn't exactly a huge contest for 2019. But in the midst of a bit of chaos this year, I think he's been consistently good. And it's not like Joe's shock in that clip is because it's Cian Healy. Oh my God, Cian Healy's had a bad decade. Not at all. He's had an outstanding decade. Look at all the things he's won and look at the teams he's been involved with. And as I've already said, the longevity he's shown. But it's just there is such an obvious candidate for this specific thing. He has literally been the best player in the world at one point during this decade, the most part of this decade he's played for and been Ireland's starting 10. So it's a left field suggestion, but it's not a ridiculous one.
Yeah, we'll see who Brian Driscoll picks. Bowden Barrett was the other player mentioned there. He made his debut. When do you think he made his debut? How many caps do you think Bowden Barrett has? Do you know this?
2015, 16.
How many caps do you think he has?
45.
83 caps, and he made his debut in 2012.
Really?
Yeah, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, God, I clearly didn't watch enough of the Tri-Nations until Argentina got involved.
But again, like, he's 28. You kind of feel like he's a youngster, because for the whole time he was always like an understudy and an understudy to the best out half in the world. But actually, he's been around a long time.
I suppose he got a lot of...
He'll be 32 at the time of the next World Cup, which for an out half.
Yeah,
we're saying for Halloween Jones, like, well, he's young for second row. For Bowden Barrett,
he could have 2 more World Cups. Probably will have 2 more World Cups.
Barrett?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Get to 36?
Well, he is an out half. I'm not sure.
You were saying that as an out. You were saying obviously as a second row you can go a bit longer.
Yeah, much longer.
Yeah, potentially. Like, is the sense that he, as an understudy in the All Blacks jersey for quite some time, it might give him a kick for another couple of years. Like, the thing is also where judging he is a fullback. Like, he's not an out half, and you would say that the fullback's shelf life is even shorter again.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Well,
I don't know.
You need your gas. Right, news up next with Anne-Marie Donlan. First, though, here's Brian O'Driscoll rubbishing reports that Johnny Sexton could be moving abroad again.
Yeah, I think it's all rubbish. I think my understanding is that an agent that he'd used previously and for wrestling contacted him, said, I've got a club interested, and he said, no, I've got a contract, I'm fine. And then they called a couple of weeks later saying, would you be interested in being bought out of your contract? And he said, absolutely no way.
Right.
And I think there was something reported about his representatives met then that he does his own contracts.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, unless it was me, that's nonsense. So I think it probably annoys him that it's being touted that he's trying to bump his numbers up by renegotiating his contract that he has in Ireland, which is absolutely not the case. When I read it, I was like, there's no way there's any truth in that, because he doesn't want to leave Ireland. There's no way he'd want to leave the Leinster environment, Irish setup. It doesn't really matter. He, like the next person, he likes the Benjamins, but not to the detriment of his lifestyle. Kids are in school here, his wife's happy here. There's way more to rugby and his existence than money. So it's all fabricated. It's nonsense.
Right, so that was nailing that full on from Brian O'Driscoll yesterday, talking about Johnny Sexton. That full interview we'll play with you tomorrow on OTB Sports Radio in our Decade in a Day, when we look back on the last decade and ask all of our pundits to tell us about what their highlights were over the last 10 years. Anne-Marie is here with us to talk us through the news. How's it going?
Morning, Ger.
Where are we starting?
History made at the darts last night. The first ever woman to win a match at the PDC World Championships. 25-year-old Milton Keynes native Fallon Sherrock won her first ever match. First round tie, beating rising star Ted Evans 3-2 at Alexandra Palace. Her performance broke the record for the longest ever professional match by a woman, and she was emotional afterwards.
It hasn't sunk in yet, but I'm just so proud of myself. I'm so happy, I'm over the moon. Like, I've just made history. Like, I'm so happy. I mean, Ted did play really well as well, so it weren't even like I got given that I had to play for it. I'm just over the moon by it.
So she's the fifth woman to take part, and only the fourth since the qualification pathway created for women last year. So as a darts snob, Ger, are you happy for her?
I'm delighted. I'm thrilled. Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay. A big moment.
Yeah.
Have you used your Brexit on the pub take this year yet?
No, we didn't even get that far, but I mean, come on. Now we can all see it's laid bare. How many of those people do you think, stupidly, were voting for their own funerals by electing Boris Johnson? How many of them? All of them. They were all Conservative voters.
Yeah, it's... Brexit was, there could have been worse alternatives.
No coincidence that Brexit and darts became a thing around about the same time. Just isn't.
That's not true.
Darts has been a thing long before Brexit.
That's not true.
I'm telling you, darts, the flare-up of darts happened around the same time as Farage started to get his clammy little hands on the British public's mind.
Stand-up good guy Phil the Power Taylor had 15 titles before Brexit was even mentioned in Westminster.
No, there was no.
When did Sky start showing the darts?
I don't know. I mean,
it's going on about 10 years now since peak darts had arrived. Like the John Part final was the first one I remember when this was like
who?
John Park, the Canadian. What's his name? Oh, Darth Maple is John Parrott's. He does COCOM on Sky Sports. I was watching Bullseye actually the other day. Great TV show. It's on Challenge every so often. And
the original one.
The original one, yeah. Massive glasses on every darts player, and they all seem very Brexit. In fairness to them, but I kind of like this. This kind of new age of people. Like Bullseye's fantastic. It combines two of my favourite things: darts and trivia.
Well, the darts is now breaking glass ceilings.
Great, yeah. Oh, fairness, yeah. I mean, yeah, fair play.
Anyway, so she has set up a second round meeting with 11 seed Mensur Suljovic. Tyrone's Mickey Mansell then is in first round action later on this afternoon. He takes on Japan's Saigo Asada. That's in the second match of the afternoon session in London. Elsewhere then, Aston Villa are through to tonight's League Cup semi-final draw. A much-changed side thrashed a youthful Liverpool 5-0 at Villa Park last night. The Republic of Ireland's Conor Hourihane opened the scoring for the hosts. There was some contention though with the goal, which came from a free kick, and it was a bit of a debate between who got it, whether it was Hourihane or Jonathan Kodjia, but Hourihane afterwards claimed that it was definitely his.
Whose goal was it? Jonathan Kodjia was claiming it in the tunnel at half-time.
I can't believe you're even asking me. Mine, of course.
Definitely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He didn't say to you that he got a touch?
No, he actually said he didn't, to be fair.
He said he didn't get a touch?
Yeah, he did, yeah. So, all good. My goal.
Very confident in himself.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Screw you, Jonathan. Who the hell do you think you are stealing my goal? Does that mean it wasn't a hat-trick for Kodjia in the first half then? Or did he get one as well as that?
No, he got one.
So it was supposed to be a first half hat-trick, right? From Kodjia?
But Hourihane got the first, so no, it wasn't.
Right. So he didn't score a hat-trick at all then?
No.
All the papers are giving it to him though.
Did he? But
no, because they probably didn't see Hourihane's post-match interview.
Right.
The deadline came too soon for them before it was.
But Hourihane has cleared that up there.
It's good, yeah.
And there's potential then for some upsets this evening. League One Oxford host holders Manchester City, while fourth tier Colchester take on Manchester United. That one's at Old Trafford. And Duncan Ferguson is likely to be in charge of Everton for the last time as they take on in form Leicester City at Goodison Park. Republic of Ireland, finally for now, international goalkeeper Darren Randolph looks set for a return to the Premier League with his old club West Ham. The 32-year-old is currently playing with Championship side Middlesbrough. Randolph obviously left West Ham in 2017. That was after Joe Hart arrived to the club. But reports in the papers today suggest he's set to move back to London in January.
That'll be an interesting move. Will he be a sub? Is he going to start?
Yeah, he'll start.
Will he? Definitely.
He's way ahead of David Martin potentially. Like it's hard to know. He's playing all right at the moment. Obviously kept a clean sheet in his first Premier League start. But I'd give Randolph every chance of seeing Premier League game time.
Okay. Done?
That's everything.
All right, good stuff. Thanks very much for that. Now, let's one more bit of Ronan O'Gara goodness for you. Delivering impressive performances with Ulster, John Cooney falls into the French mould of scrum halves, according to Ronan O'Gara. Here he is.
So you have a good perspective on this, the Le Petit Général culture over in France. Is that still very much a thing? Is John Cooney in that mould, and is that still very much what you see at a lot of French clubs?
It is, yeah. While in Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, the dominant, I suppose, partner of the halfback partnership is the 10, while in France, ever since they're very, very young, the dominant role is the 9. And all the 9s become goal kickers, and nearly every 9 in France goal kicks, and it's part of their requirements for CV for gaining game time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is. But I was reading an article. He's a very accomplished soccer player.
Yeah.
John Cooney. So that obviously helps when it comes to kicking a ball, striking a ball. He is very. He has, I think, improved his technique, and he looks. He doesn't look like missing at the minute, you know. But I think that's what he's doing for Ulster. But once you take him out of that context, now he's gone into an international stage where you're competing with the likes of Halfpenny, Sexton, Farrell, and Laidlaw, all really sharp shooters. So what we can say is so far, so good. And will a 9 get an opportunity to kick on the Irish team? If Johnny Sexton is playing, no. If Joey Carberry is playing, potentially. If Ross Byrne is playing, probably not.
Right, it's good, interesting stuff there from Ronald O'Gara about John Cooney. We'll come back to that. Obviously, all this week on OTBM, we're thanks to Best Menswear. We've got some prizes and brilliant gift guides each morning to help you in the build-up to Christmas. A little later on, we're going to be bringing you the OTBAM Guide to Tech Gift with Jess Kelly is in right now. Jess, how are you?
Very well.
We also have a €120 Hugo Boss wallet up for grabs for today as our competition prize. To enter the draw, we're asking you to send us a photo of your favourite tech discovery of 2019 with the hashtag OTBAM. You don't have to send a photo if you don't want to. You can just tell us what it is. It could be anything from a new fitness tracker to playing OTB Sports Radio on your smart speaker. You can get in touch with us just using the hashtag OTBAM. So, Jess.
Yes.
It's like last minute, right? 18th of December. Owen hasn't bought any Christmas presents.
Got it all done yesterday, actually.
Oh, did you?
Did you?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure like there's... myself and Nathan got kitted out the other day, basically, but we can... I can tell you at the end of the show.
Yeah, okay. So, some other time.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, right. You could have just made up a lie.
I just... Rush of blood to the head is what you call that. No, I haven't got any Christmas shopping done, Jess.
Well
what have you got today?
Well done. Anyway, let's just move on quickly. So yeah, it is kind of last minute. But the thing is that tech has become the gift that everyone is giving now. It used to be a thing where it was super expensive, it was hard to find stuff for nothing. But I've done my homework and we have stuff for under 50 quid right up to around €350.
Owen bought your dad, what did you buy him? A smartwatch?
Fitbit Versa.
Fitbit.
Oh,
that's
very
it. Jess Kelly's suggestion. He loves it, in fairness.
Oh, that's good.
And he's
for the first 3 months that it worked.
Well, no, in fairness, he got
what happened?
it's just the strap broken out actually to get one
Did
of those.
that happen to Nathan? Nathan Murphy had a Fitbit as well. That was actually a Jess Kelly give to Nathan Murphy.
Oh, right.
And he broke it within a few months as well. We got him a different one.
How come Nathan gets the free stuff?
Because he comes up and has the balls to ask, whereas the rest of you don't.
That's fair point.
Ask and you get.
Jess, you've just made your life miserable for...
Look the rest of you guys. I was going to move to a different desk.
This Christmas, I'm looking for a Huawei Watch GT2 42mm by any chance.
You can have it right now. This is actually class. If you are looking for a wearable and you don't want to go down the route of the Fitbit or the Garmin, which are sort of the biggest brands in terms of fitness tech, this is a smartwatch by Huawei. Some people don't really like Huawei because of the whole, Chinese company thing, which is fair enough to a certain extent, but this is by far the best wearable that I've tried this year. So it's €229 and it pairs to anything. So if you have an iPhone, which I now have since yesterday, or you have an Android phone, it'll pair. It'll do all the bits and pieces from a fitness point of view, but the battery lasts for 4 days, which is pretty unheard of in terms of, the Apple Watch or the Samsung Watch. So I like it a lot.
How do you charge it?
Oh, it's really annoying. So it has another different charger. There's a little disc that sits on, it clips in, and then you have to plug it into a USB-C.
Right.
Which is a pain in the face. I'm waiting for the day where you can just plug it in with the same charger as your phone. That's my biggest bugbear with wearables, is that they all have different chargers. It's a total pain.
Mostly everything's a USB-C now, though, right? As in a separate charger, you can't just plug it into the wall.
Well, no, so you can plug it into the wall, but it's the connection, the USB-C has to go into this little disc that the watch then sits on, so there's kind of an adapter bit that's really annoying.
Yeah, okay.
Why is it so good other than the battery life?
Well, battery life is the biggest thing, but in terms of compatibility with a phone, for €229, you're getting something that acts the same as an Apple Watch, which is 400 or 500 quid.
Okay.
So I can get all my text messages, I can reply to messages, you can get your social notifications, all the fitness bits are there, as I say, and it's the battery is the biggest thing for me, because I had the Samsung one that I loved because I was using a Samsung phone, but the battery was dying after a day and a bit. And you just don't want to be charging something that often. If you have to do your phone, it's a complete spoiled brat problem.
It has all the sleep trackers and all that stuff too?
It does. Now, I don't like using sleep trackers because I get really competitive with myself and then I don't sleep because I'm trying to get my sleep score so good. So I don't like that aspect of it.
But counterproductive.
Yeah. But I'm not the only one. I've spoken to other people in this office as well who don't like the sleep score thing.
I have an Oura ring, and what I like about it is I wake up and I'm complaining to myself about how I haven't slept very well, and then I check and I'm like, oh, actually I slept all right.
But is it actually accurate?
I think so, yeah.
Really?
I think so. Is it?
You see, we did this experiment a few months ago where we tried out, there's a sensor that you can put under your bed, there's this, and then there's a tracker on your phone.
Yeah.
So we did all three, and they were all giving different readings.
Surely the tracker on your phone makes no sense.
Oh, it makes no sense. It's about how you breathe and the sound and that sort of stuff. But then this, not this one, but the wearable that I wore on my wrist was giving different readings to the sensor in the bed.
Right.
But surely they're tracking the same things in terms of movement, heart rate.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't believe it. It just stresses me out.
Okay, fair enough. Why did you change to an iPhone?
Just out of curiosity. So for the last few months, I've primarily been using, or few years now, I've been using Android phones. So I use the P30 Pro, which is probably the best phone of the year, which is a Huawei phone. I use the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, which I had a bit of trouble with, and then I moved to the Samsung Galaxy S10, and then got the iPhone 11 yesterday because I was due an upgrade, and I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I like it so far. Do you know what the hardest part was in terms of setup, moving from Android to iPhone, was moving WhatsApp. Even though it's a cloud-based platform, they just don't talk to each other, so I lost all my WhatsApp history.
Right.
It's a pain.
But it's on your old phone, right?
It's on the old phone, so if I move the number across, but it's just if I wanted to get like a number or something like that someone sent to me now, it's a pain.
Okay, let's start with the cheap ones. So 50 quid and under.
Yeah, so this is actually 20 quid at the moment. It's a Jam hang-up Bluetooth speaker. It's only available from Harvey Norman. And the reason I like this is it's kind of the size of a hockey puck, but the sound quality from it is pretty unreal. The speaker's on both sides of what you're seeing there now, so it fills the room. Again, it pairs to anything that has Bluetooth, so whether it is an Android phone, an iPhone, or a tablet. And it's pretty class. As I said, this is the newer version of what I've been recommending for the last few years, and for 20 quid you can't really go wrong.
Okay, so good sound out of that. It's called the Jam hang-up Bluetooth speaker. Next is TileMate.
Yeah, so if you have someone and you want to give them a bit of a passive-aggressive gift, this is the dream. So I live with somebody who loses his keys the entire time, and every morning the apartment gets pulled apart trying to find them. This clips onto your keys, pairs to your phone via Bluetooth, and when you lose them, you can then call your keys. So not only will it give you the precise GPS location, so if you're at home and you left your keys here, you'll be able to see they're in Diggs Lane, or if they're under the couch, you can call them and you can find them straight away.
Yeah, so you can also get stickers, which work very well. I have a tile. After a couple of years, the battery runs out and you just get a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, they work. 25 quid?
Yes.
Available everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay, so under 150 quid?
Under 150 quid. This is an interesting price bracket because people would think that you have to spend big money to get things like a printer, headphones and so on. That's not the case. So these are wireless headphones. These are called the Eoin Mini Ring Pros, and they are €70 from eatechdirect.com. And they're kind of like the Apple AirPods and the Samsung Galaxy Buds in that they're Bluetooth headphones that sit in your ear. They're charged in like a little coffin-shaped thing that you can see there on the screen. And again, they pair to any device for €70. The sound quality is really, really good. So if you don't want to spend €229 on Apple AirPods, they are the way to go.
You have multiple pairs of the Samsungs.
I do.
Yeah, why did that happen? Just in case anybody's unfamiliar with the story, Jess.
So thanks, Ger. I was in Stephen's Green Shopping Centre on the day the National Broadband Plan was progressing, which was a big day. Usually my phone is on silent, but I had it on loud in case I was needed. And I was opening my Samsung headphones and my phone rang, and I'm not used to my phone ringing. So I got a fright and I jumped, and one of the headphones dropped out on top of one of the shops in Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. And me being me, didn't want to go and tell anyone about it, but I put it on Twitter and then went out and bought a new pair of the headphones. And then the next day, Stephen's Green Shopping Centre sent a guy up, got my headphones, and now I have 2 pairs.
You know the way on the top floor,
of Tiger.
You can look down, you can see.
It wasn't my finest moment, but sure, listen, you live and learn.
And you obviously like them then, because...
they are incredible. They are the best
really?
ones. In terms
Do they not fall out? Are they like...
No. And in terms of when you are, walking around the place, when you're running, when you're travelling, they're incredible. And the battery life on the Samsung ones in particular are amazing. I would probably get 3 days, and I wear my headphones a lot without charging.
I lose about 4 or 5 pairs of headphones every year, so I've got to the point where I was buying nice ones. There's the picture, look.
Oh, please.
There you
so
go.
unnecessary.
I know. And fair play to them for actually digging them out for you.
Yeah.
But I'm reluctant to invest in headphones.
How do you lose them, and where do you lose them?
I mean, if I could stick a tile on them, I would know where I lose them.
But are we talking... as in, like, the little wired ones that you...
Not a million miles away from these ones.
Okay.
But, like, not as nice or as good as these ones. Yeah, wired. I had wireless. They kept breaking. They were, like...
Well, if you get the Galaxy Buds, and I think it's the same with the Apple ones as well, you can call them. So if you do misplace one, you can ring it.
Okay.
But...
that makes sense.
Just don't drop it on top of a shopping centre.
Inbuilt tile technology. Okay, so you're saying there 70 quid?
Yep.
The HP Sprocket 200 mobile photo printer.
Yeah, this is my favourite. There was an older version of this last year and I loved it, and this is the newer version. So I took 1 million photographs every single day, and we don't print them enough. This is a photo printer that pairs to any device via Bluetooth, and you can get photographs in seconds. The best thing about this is that you don't need to buy ink for the printer, because the ink is actually stored in the paper.
Okay.
So it's zinc, so the image sort of just bleeds onto the page,
right.
Which cuts down costs. So this is €80 at the moment in Curry's PC World. The paper can be quite expensive, so what I do for my one is I just bulk buy it on Amazon, and you can get it for cheaper, but it is the absolute dream. It's good for kids, but also for 30-year-old kids like me as well.
And so it's one size, obviously?
Yeah, it's one size. So it is that sort of, it's like bigger than a passport photograph, but they also are stickers as well.
Right.
So in my make and do-ness for my Christmas wrapping, I've been personalising gifts with them.
Right, okay.
It's a very sweet idea. I like it.
Okay, and so that's half price at the moment?
Half price at the moment in Curry's PC World, yes indeed.
So you get them for 80 quid?
Yep.
Okay, the Juku Metro 2 backpack.
This.
Jesus, I sound like Abe Byrne there. What?
And it's a bag.
What?
So this is a backpack, and Juku are a brand that make a whole host of techie accessories. But as you can see there, you can plug a portable charger into it and then charge up your phone. So the idea is that you're not having cables hanging out of your pockets, which is the dream. So I have the older version of this backpack, and I go around like Dora the Explorer with it all the time. I absolutely love it. It's got space for your laptop, space for your travel documents, for your cables, anything that you need. It's very organised.
So just explain to me how this works, because I saw you talking about this yesterday. I was like, hang on a second, how does it charge?
Because you have to get the backup charger,
okay,
and you put that in. So you have the backup charger in one of the little pouches, then you connect that to the adapter on the outside of the bag. It goes through, and then you connect your cable.
So you get a power box?
Power bank, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's very, 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 very handy.
That
I
makes
like
sense.
it a lot.
Okay, and how much is that?
It's 89 quid.
Okay. Can you buy backpacks for people unless they have to tell you? It's quite personal, because you're going to have it for like 10 years, right?
Yeah, why would you not?
It's a style item, really, isn't it?
Well, no. I look at it as, again, because maybe I'm a weirdo, but it's a tool. Like it's something that you carry.
I would have thought so. If I'm buying a backpack for somebody, and if they don't think it's stylish enough, I think that could be a real
point of contention. Maybe.
Like it's definitely an issue when you're out. Like I wouldn't buy a pair of shoes for somebody because I've got no sense of fashion. So would I buy a bag for somebody? I put that into the same bracket as shoes.
This is the next stage of your relationship, and we can counsel you through. It's okay to buy shoes. People like the gift of shoes.
Do they? But like, I mean, people don't like my shoes. Like, I mean, I couldn't.
Yeah,
go
but you
out
wouldn't
shoes.
be buying a pair of your shoes
exactly.
for somebody.
You'd put a bit of effort in.
I wouldn't be able to. But I wouldn't be able to buy a hat. Really, like I'm terrible.
Well, a hat's different.
We can counsel you through this.
Okay, maybe a bag is somewhere.
That'll be the next segment on next week's show.
A bag is somewhere in between a hat and shoes, then, and I don't like
backpacks. I'm getting a backpack for Christmas that I ordered myself. That's my present.
That's really sad.
It is pretty sad, but that's you reach a certain point in life. You're like, look, I need this. Get me this. That's how it works, right? That's exactly how it's supposed to work.
Okay, cool.
A Kindle Paperweight. What's the difference?
So this is one of my favourite devices, and I don't go anywhere without it. The idea with this is that it's backlit, so you don't have to have a lamp on, or you don't, if you're flying, you don't have to have the little annoying light over your head. They've brought out a newer version, so this is last year's one. The newer version is now waterproof and it's slightly thinner.
Right.
People give out to me anytime I talk about my Kindle. They just say, "Oh, buy a proper book." But if you're on the go, it's not practical to have millions and millions and millions of books. So between this and then Audible, that's how I've been consuming a lot of my stuff this year. But the thing, if you buy somebody a Kindle, go the extra 20 or 30 quid and get them a cover, because I didn't get a cover and mine is scratched to bits and it's really annoying.
Yeah, I had one of the very original Kindles, which was actually, it looked in design almost the exact same, but it had built-in 3G. It was amazing. Which, like, they didn't charge you for it, so it was basically like a mobile phone. But then it broke, and they wouldn't fix it. They're like, "Oh, we're no longer offering any support for this," because it was like free 3G. I presume there's no
connectivity. It's just Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You can, I think, get ones that you can put a SIM card into.
Right.
I think, but I don't know why you'd want to.
Yeah. This was great because, like, you could literally get any book you wanted wherever you could buy it. I was very impressed. It was quite a long time ago now at this point. But they're great. Anybody's giving out about just buying books. Like, the author's still getting the same money, and
But they can coexist alongside proper books as well.
Yeah.
I'm very defensive about it.
No, you're dead right to be. Okay, so what? That's 150 quid?
Yeah.
So just squeaking in at our 150 and under, but obviously very good. Will all these things be cheaper? Like, on the 24th of December?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is depressing enough. A lot of the big tech companies, and it's interesting, a lot of the big tech companies started back to college sales in July.
Right.
And then they ran into Black Friday sales, and now it'll run into Christmas sales. So there's a lot of stuff. If you're buying things like laptops, tablets and so on, you can kind of get a good deal any time of year.
Okay.
But some of the smaller accessories and the bits and pieces will be reduced massively in the coming days and weeks.
Because those reductions seem like they're pretty good. 80 quid off, so half price
Yeah.
for the mobile phone printer and the Bluetooth speaker at the start. They're not going to come down much more, are they?
No, probably not, but you just never know. They could do, you know, gimmies on some of them and just cut them right down. If they're last year's models, the way these things work, and it's the same with TVs as well, if they have enough of them and there's a new version coming out, they will just slash them right down.
Black Friday apparently is the best time to buy TVs.
We bought one.
Oh yeah? What did you get?
We got a Samsung. Do you remember you guys had the curved one in here last year?
Owen had it for the World Cup final. Yeah.
So we bought the newer version, not the curved version, but the newer model of the non-curved version. So
They're
it's a
amazing.
Samsung UHD 55-inch, and it's class.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
I'm still squinting at my original TV ever since I got rid of that, like over a year ago.
Yeah. Because we had that one for review as well, and we were contemplating buying a new one because we bought one, I think, last year, 18 months ago, and once you go to the UHD and you see the clarity and the colours and having the 4K display on stuff, like, it's just unreal.
Yeah, it makes a difference. My kids all learn how to swipe stuff, so they're swiping the TV. The 3-year-old's banging it. I'm like, so we're not getting a new TV until he stops doing that. And as soon as that stops, I think we can invest in a new TV. But okay, so we've done the Huawei Watch.
Yep.
Which leaves us with the Google Home Max. This is the upper end of the home assistants, because you can get the Amazon Echo for like 29 quid.
Yeah, and you can get the Google, it's now called the Google Nest, which is the smaller version. But this is the Google Max, so you have to really love the person that you're buying this for. It's €350. And it's the same in principle as the smaller versions in that it has the voice controlled assistant, it can do all the bits and pieces for you. If you have the add-ons like I have in my home, so we have a Google Chrome and the TV, we have the smart light bulbs, so everything in our apartment now is voice controlled through our Google Home. The difference with the Google Home Max is that it's pure speaker. So if somebody is listening to a lot of music, or if they are listening to audiobooks and so on, or off the ball, you can just interact with it and it will play it out, but the sound is incredible. You would expect that sort of quality from the likes of Bose or Bang & Olufsen, but it's now available from the Google Home Max, but it is expensive. It's €350.
Sonos equivalent?
Sonos is probably better. Sonos is like in a different league, I think, when it comes to the sound. I would put them above the likes of Bose and Bang & Olufsen.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, in terms of their smaller speakers, so I had the Sonos Play 1, which I loved. But then when we started getting all the smarter speakers, I was like...
You moved away from them?
Yeah, which I regret.
How much has your voice assistant changed your life this year?
Like, remarkably so.
Because, like, obviously, the Bluetooth bulbs sound good. I've got a Bluetooth speaker already.
It's so
where is the €350 worth it?
Get the 29.
Yeah, get the small one. I have a Google Nest at home. I can give you the smaller one. We can start you small and then we can build.
Can I have the Google Nest?
Yes, you
Got
can.
it before everybody else at the office did. Boom.
You just did a Nathan Murphy. That's what we call that. No, but it's class because, you know, it's sort of the first thing that I'd interact with in terms of, you know, what's the weather going to be like, what's on my agenda. I can make the shopping list. I can just talk to it. It's so ingrained in my life that I started having rows with it now. Like,
okay,
that's
right.
How, yeah.
Like what?
She doesn't listen. Sometimes she interrupts that I'm not talking to her. She'll just start going, I didn't quite catch that. And you're like, no, shut up, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
Which is a bit creepy, but it's fine.
Yes.
It's very useful.
There's a lot of creepiness.
But it's very useful. So again...
Alexa comes to life in the middle and you're like, hang on a second now.
No, it's weird. But again, if you have a smartphone, that's already happening to a certain extent.
Oh, it's 100% happening. All the ads, a conversation in the office, and 3 days later you're getting an ad for it. It's like, right.
I'm pretty sure I'm getting ads for things that I'm thinking rather than just speaking at this moment as well.
Well, the technology companies, because I asked Facebook about this last year, and I said, you know, are you listening to our conversations? And the response that I got was that Facebook knows you so well that its algorithms now predict what it expects you to be talking about.
Right.
Which is... Like, I had a meeting a while ago and I was talking about my 9th birthday. That was in Leisureplex, and I went outside and there was an Instagram ad for Leisureplex.
Right.
Like,
did you go?
Are they that good?
Yeah. For me, if the Leisureplex ad came up, I would 100% go to Leisureplex. So it would work.
There was a bit recently where somebody at Amazon was surprised that people were surprised that they weren't listening or that they were listening, because obviously that's how you improve the quality of the AI. It's like, well, we're just doing this for your benefit.
Yeah.
Well, of course you are, just for our benefit.
Uh-huh.
All right, but the Google Home Assistant, we
After
recommend
we peed
it.
all over it, yeah, absolutely, get
but
one.
the quality of the sound is...
Anyway.
What do you get for Christmas? What tech gifts does anybody get you? Or do they know not to? Because you've got all the stuff anyway.
Yeah, no, the people don't get me tech, and I also can't get tech for people.
I mean, you can, I think. They should just be grateful for it.
No.
You think because they think you got it for nothing, it's like...
There's that, and it's also, you've clearly just walked out of doing tech on Pat Kenny, went down and bought what you were talking about, rather than putting any personalised thought in. So.
But like, this is the
They want to be the best gifts.
Exactly. And so you know more about it. I would take it as like a... Oh, right, well, this must be really good.
Yeah, no. It's a pain.
I'm sorry for your trouble.
Thank you.
But thanks very much, Jess. We'll obviously clip that whole bit and put it up so you don't have to remember anything. We're basically like an off-the-ball Google Assistant for your Christmas presents.
Less creepy, maybe.
Yeah, well, Owen sometimes.
Oh,
All this week on OTBAM, with thanks to Best Menswear, we've got some prizes and brilliant gift guides each morning to help you in the build-up to Christmas. Our gift guide will continue tomorrow, but this morning we've got a €120 Hugo Boss wallet up for grabs, which we're going to give away in the next 20 minutes or so. Just tell us your best tech discovery of 2019 with hashtag OTBAM. It could be anything from your new fitness tracker to playing OTB Sports Radio on your smart speaker. Get in touch with the hashtag OTBAM. Up next, we're going to speak with Monaghan's dynamic boxing duo, Aaron and Stevie McKenna.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The Sunday Paper Review
On Off the Ball.
When he wants to do something, he does it. A hugely impressive person, apart from being obviously a brilliant golfer.
My cousins disliked their dog so intensely that they renamed it Scalacci.
Yeah.
And the dog was called Scalacci from then on.
It's a great piece of journalism. That sums up what he's like. The intro to this is just brilliant. He is an absolute control freak.
Digesting the best stories on the back pages every Sunday afternoon on Off the Ball.
From music to rock out to, chill out to, and dance to. From sweater weather to workout playlists. Whatever mood you're in, Go Loud has music to match. Download the Go Loud app now or add us on your smart speaker. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio, and music to your ears.
OTB AM.
Okay, delighted to say that we're doing our now annual check-in with Aaron and Stevie McKenna, the Monaghan boxers, are home in Ireland. Lads, you're very welcome.
Great to be on.
I think first thing to say is congratulations on another great year. We were sitting here, I think, almost 12 months ago to the day, and you were talking about your big ambitions for 2019. I think you achieved that, both of you. Aaron, we might start with you. Like, what's the first emotion that comes to mind when you think of the year that was for Aaron McKenna?
Yeah, I think it's been a brilliant year for me. 10-0 now, and I'm only 20 years old, so it's a fantastic achievement to be so experienced as well now. And I just want to keep it going and keep winning my fights and keep improving. That's the goal now. And next year now I'll be moving into 8-rounders, and by the end of the year I want to have a 10-rounder.
Yeah, that was the aim this year, but you got a knockout to actually stop the whole process of going to full 8 rounds.
Yeah, so yeah, that was nice. Got the second round KO to finish off the year, and it was a body shot. It was a nice shot, and I think I've improved now a lot since my pro debut, and I'm showing signs of improvement, and I'm starting to develop a lot of power now.
Yeah, because that was the one thing that stuck out to me when we were chatting with you last year, is that you said that you're yet to develop your man strength.
Yeah.
When you're knocking somebody out with a body shot, chances are you're getting close to that position where you do have that man strength.
Yeah, definitely. It's something I've been working on in the gym too, the body shots, because these guys have tough heads and you can hit them with everything to the head and they'd still stand, but when you move down to the body, they can't really take it.
Right, okay. And that's just something that you've learned over time. That and is that the case for most fighters in your division, that actually, if you work the body a bit more, you've got actually as good a chance of the knockout?
Yeah, I think so. Body shots are important anyway, and it slows them down. Even if you don't drop them the first or second time, it'll still slow them down for later on in the fight.
Stevie, what's the biggest thing you've learned in 2019 as a boxer?
Well, I made my debut in April, and I've had 4 fights with 4 knockouts, so it's been a big year, an exciting year for me, but I've settled down really well into the pro boxing, and I'm getting knockouts, so you don't get paid for overtime, and I like to get them out there early, so
I want to keep improving and keep knocking these guys out.
It's something that Andy Lee always says to us when he's in studio, that when you're fighting in the United States, you deal in knockouts. That is the currency that they appreciate over there. Is that something that you're acutely aware of, or does that just happen to be your style?
Yeah, well, me and Aaron's both exciting style fighters, and that's what the crowd want to see. They want to see exciting fighters, and we bring that to the table. And when we go into fight, we go in to knock them out and get them out of there. So we want to just keep doing that and keep it going.
And are people having conversations with you, like even outside of your coaching team and outside of people who look after you, saying that this is going really well, the way in which you're finishing these fights is outstanding and keep this up?
Yeah, well, they just want me to keep winning. That's all I have to keep doing and improving when I'm sparring and different things. So I'm sparring with world champions every day. I spar with Jose Ramirez, and he's the champion at my weight. And doing really good with him. So I'm getting the best sparring in the world, and that's all I need. So I have to keep improving.
Yeah, it's always the aim that you look for. Like when you look towards 2020, Aaron, is it like what is the specific thing that you're looking to improve on? Even if you kind of remove the idea of perhaps being in contention for a title, which I'm sure is going to happen at some point. As a boxer, what are you looking to improve on?
Just anything I need to improve on. I just want to improve.
Is there a specific thing? Do you look at your game at the moment and say there's a weakness here, or are you pretty confident with where you're at?
At the minute, like, I think I'm doing good, but I'm still young, so you can always improve. There's always room for improvement, and I just want to get that, and I'll get that by fighting. I'll learn every fight, and I have learned in most of my fights. So next year now I'm moving up to 8-rounder, so I'm looking forward to that.
Do you guys train together?
Yeah, we train with each other every day, so we run together, we do our strength work together, and we spar and train. So,
what does a typical day in your life in Los Angeles look like?
On a sparring day, we head to the Robert Garcia boxing gym, and we spar there and do our session. And then later that day, we go home and do a recovery run, what we call a 4 mile. We do.
Right.
So that
nice easy recovery.
Yeah, that's a sparring day. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're up at 4 a.m. We do a track session, and that consists of 800-metre sprints 6 times and a 1-minute recovery. So we both push each other really hard, and I'm there really hard. We try to get it under 2:45. We aim for that times. And then once we come home, we cook. We do a recovery at 6:30. We'll be home at. And then we head back to bed for a few hours, and then straight into our boxing session at 9:30. We do our boxing session, and then after that, it usually lasts about an hour and a half. We go to the Cairo zone. It's a recovery. It's like a deep freeze, the ice chambers, and we get a recovery there every Tuesday and Thursday. And then we go on and do our strength session. So we have all done by about 2 o'clock in the day, 3 sessions on the Tuesday and Thursday. So it's a hectic day, and it's very tough.
Is it just the two of you then when you're doing laps around the track?
The 2 of us, yeah.
With your dad, is it?
Yeah, with my dad, yeah. He pushes us on. We have to work each other hard.
I'd imagine so. I'd say you push each other on. I'd say your father Fergal as well pushes yourself on fairly hard as well. You mentioned there you come home and you do the cooking. Are you cooking yourself? Who's cooking for you at that point?
Yeah, we cook.
You do it for yourselves?
Yeah.
Right, what's the typical meal on a Tuesday or a Thursday then in the middle of the day?
We get back from the run, we'd have chicken, brown rice, eggs and veg. Yeah, and then we'd get up a couple hours later, go to our boxing session.
Right. Is this a situation where you're living in, Aaron, and you're like, this is the dream, like I can't believe I'm doing this in California with my family and actually achieving things, 10-0, things are going so well. Do you have time to appreciate that at all, or is it a situation where you just can't allow those sort of thoughts of enjoying the moment to creep in?
Yeah, when we're over there, when we're in camp, we're just totally focused on getting the job done, and it's a great place to be because it's got the great facilities that you need. Like, you've got the track right beside us, and then the mountain run we do every Saturday, 4 mile up, real tough in the legs, real tough run. We do it in under 29 minutes, so Yeah, and then you've got the Santa Monica Stairs as well. It's another tough run, so you've got the great facilities beside us as well.
So that's every Saturday you do that run?
Yeah, do the mountain run every Saturday, and then we do the Santa Monica Stairs every Thursday.
Right, okay. So that's on top of your track session on a Thursday?
On tracks
Tuesday.
on a Tuesday.
Track on Tuesday, sorry, and then it's a different place. It's up to Santa Monica Stairs on a Thursday. So then what about the remainder of the week then? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is that all sparring? Is that just in the gym?
Sparring and then just recovery runs.
Right, okay. Do you find yourself, as the months go by and the more sparring rounds you get in, you start to feel yourself getting sharper and you almost reach a peak stage of your camp? I don't know, I'm sure that you obviously heard and thought about the idea of a flow state when you're in the ring and you actually reach the peak version of yourself. How long does that take? How many sparring sessions does that take before you're like, right, I'm ready to fight and I'm ready to give my opponent a really good few rounds here?
Like after a fight, we go straight back into camp.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so we're always sharp the whole year round, and at the minute now I'm doing like 24 rounds a week, 8 on a Monday, 8 on a Wednesday and 8 on a Friday.
Right.
So I'm always feel sharp and always ready for the fight.
Would you be the same then, Stevie?
Yeah, we pretty similar, yeah, but like our last few spars before the fight, that's when we're really sharp, and in our running as well. We try to get our best times about 2-3 weeks out before our fight, and then we know how sharp we are, so we'll be getting personal bests, we'll be beating our times.
You were saying there just before we came on air that there's no rest for the wicked. You're home until the end of January, really, 20-something of January. You go back to California, and it's not feet up, watching movies, eating left, right and centre, or drinking perhaps at all when you're at home in Monaghan. There's a good bit of training involved over the next month or so.
Yeah, at the minute we're at maintenance training. And
what is maintenance training?
Just at the minute we're doing our running and our strength and conditioning, and then soon enough we'll start our boxing, just picking it up lightly.
Is there a hill in mountain that represents the Santa Monica Stairs at all?
Not over here. It's hard to get one.
Yeah, one, yeah. But we go over the Clonus track.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it's right beside us, and we train there as well.
Do you miss Monaghan when you're abroad? Do you miss home?
Not really, but because the time kind of goes by quick when I'm over there, when I'm in camp. When you're training for a fight, it kind of goes by quick.
What about yourself?
Not too much. Like we're focused. We're that focused, you see, on what we have to do, and we want to become world champions. So we'll be back here after a few years anyway.
That's it. You'll be bringing home the title belts in a few years' time.
Yeah.
Do you set yourself a timeline on that front? Because it can often be very tricky with politics at every single level of boxing to ever set yourself a definite date of when you want to get that title fight. And I know you're in different situations. Aaron, you might just start with you. Like when it comes to that title fight, have you set that mental target of when you want it to happen?
Yeah, well, I've always said I wanted it by the time I'm 21.
21.
So right now...
When do you turn 21?
July.
July.
Of next year. So I'm 21 next July. So I have 18 months. So now once I go into next year, just take each fight as it comes.
You're getting close to that title fight?
Yeah, so first I just got to keep winning with each fight that's in front of me. So my next 8-rounder, got to win that and then keep improving.
And what about yourself, Stevie?
Yeah, well, within the next 2 to 3 years, I would want to be knocking on a world title as well. So we'll take each fight as it comes and keep winning, keep knocking guys out.
Well, I look forward to when you're back here at Christmas with the belts, or whatever year that may be, maybe next year, maybe the year after. Either way, wish you the very best of luck. Aaron and Stevie McKenna, thanks a million for popping in.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Our now annual chat with the McKenna brothers, and hopefully they'll have a belt with them next time. Phil is here to talk some football. Phil, you're taking a little bit of heat on Twitter for, not prowling on the hatred for what happened to Liverpool last night. Why can't you just tell the truth about Liverpool being no good last night, Phil?
They were the third team. Like, that was their third team.
No, it's not good enough.
It was 16-year-olds playing.
Why don't they even play the second team? Like,
because they brought the lads with.
Everybody's gone. There's like 50 gone.
So, okay, say they played the second team, the likes of Lallana, Origi, Shaqiri would all play, but Klopp brought them because maybe he feels that you guys were part of the squad that won the Champions League. You're coming to Qatar as well.
Fair
Bit
enough.
of warm weather training because he has been rotating in the last few weeks. So he said after the Arsenal game that, you know, if you want to let Arsenal go through, that's fine. If we can't find a resolution, you know, or if you want Villa to go straight through, that's fine. But they came up with the idea, let's play all the kids. Now, they actually started quite well, and then when it's 4-0 at half-time, you think this could be a bit of a hiding. And the fact that they, you know, didn't do too badly in the second half, and
Villa eased off.
Wesley scored. So it's a night that if you're a Liverpool player, you won't forget, because there was still a huge Liverpool travelling support there making noise throughout it. So obviously Harvey Elliott's the one that's going to get most of the attention, because he played in the Premier League for Fulham last season. The feeling was when they signed him that they would loan him out, because they, you know, he's good enough to play first team football, certainly in the Championship. That's what Fulham wanted.
Yeah.
Fulham wanted. That's what Fulham said. Scott Parker said, you know, we can give you first team football in the Championship. You're good enough. Whether I'm not saying he would have been a regular, but he would have got some first team football. So people might have been surprised that he didn't go out. But he's still only 16. But he looks really exciting. He's got that bit of explosive pace. He playing out on the right, cuts in on the left, and he's certainly one for the future. You don't know how many of that team will actually play proper first team football, and I include Caoimhín Kelleher in that as well. I don't know. I mean, there's talk of him going out on loan in January.
Probably the best thing for him, right?
To a Championship club. Yeah, that's the only way he's going to get better. But yeah, I wasn't expecting much. I actually think I said to one of the lads in the office yesterday, what would be a good, like if Liverpool got out losing 2-0, 2 or 3-0, that'd be good.
3-1.
Yeah, there was a few chances to score, but it didn't happen. But
there is actual Liverpool news this morning.
Yeah, so obviously Jurgen Klopp must have been watching the game of Qatar last night. Said, you know, we're in trouble here. My job is on the line. I got to sign someone. So Takumi Minamino from Salzburg is due to do a medical today, and that should go through on the 1st of January, which means he'd be there in time for the FA Cup third round tie against Everton, which incidentally is the same fixture that Virgil van Dijk made his debut for Liverpool and scored the winner.
That's right, yeah. £7.25 million, and they've triggered his release clause. Where has this guy been hiding? I think they've kept tabs on him for a few seasons, but like that's a ridiculously low release clause to have in any contract around these times in football.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems
good. I mean, I see the fee and I'm like, what is this? He's just a squad player. Is he?
No, he's a regular for Salzburg. Very good at
Player of the month.
Scored at Anfield in the Champions League game earlier in the season, the 4-3. Played last week. Very good, quick, plenty of energy, bag of tricks. You could see how he'd fit into the front three, but you could also play him.
Is he a Shaqiri replacement?
Well, certainly the issue for Shaqiri is just he hasn't been reliable in terms of his fitness. So Minamino certainly doesn't have that issue, and he seems to have more of an engine on him. He's a bit more pace about him as well. So you just, when you were watching him last week, you actually thought, yeah, he's exactly the kind of player that Liverpool could fit into their system. So good signing for them, and just seems they can do no wrong in the transfer market at the moment.
Well, the value of this is incredible. Like, he becomes a 60 million player if he plays 10 games over the rest of the season.
Yeah,
scores a couple of goals, and it's a financial acquisition, a shrewd acquisition.
People will, there will be some cynics that say it's purely done because he's a Japanese international, and maybe it's a way for Liverpool to get more of a share in the Japanese market or the Asian market.
You wouldn't be terribly surprised if they end up in Tokyo for some pre-season friendlies.
But the fact of the matter is he's actually a really good player as well. So it ticks all the boxes.
Okay. We did also want to talk about the annual Teneo report about who are the most beloved Irish sports people. You've been looking at this, Eoin?
Yeah, the most admired athlete, according to Teneo's research. Number 1, 25% of the vote, Katie Taylor. No surprise there. Number 2 with 10% of the vote was Shane Lowry, with Jonathan Sexton coming in third. They put Gary and Paul O'Donovan as one person. They come in fourth. Equal, though, with Peter O'Mahony and Rory Best, all claiming 5% of the vote. And then Stephen Cluxton completes the top 7 with 3% of the vote. Teams of the year, Dublin, the footballers, come in at number 1, the men's footballers, I presume. And then it's level pegging with the Ireland women's hockey team. And then at number 3, the Ireland 20s rugby team comes in.
The Grand Slam winners?
Yes.
Right.
Or Six Nations winners, Grand Slam?
They won the Grand Slam.
They won the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Then number 4, anyone?
Tipperary?
Tipperary, number 5. Number 4 is the Ireland rowing team.
Right.
So that's interesting. Favourite sports then, number 1 is Gaelic Games. That's all put together.
The Ireland under-20s rugby team finishes ahead of Tip.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is mad.
They got the rugby ball out early and often, did they?
They must have done. Gaelic Games is Ireland's favourite sport. Soccer is number 2, rugby is number 3. Golf is number 5. Do you want to have a guess at what's number 4? Participation, swimming is in number 4.
See the Gaelic Games one. Do we have a breakdown with hurling and football, I wonder?
I think we used to, but I'm not sure do we have one for this year. Not in the Irish Examiner here anyway.
Things people are most looking forward to. Is that one there?
Tokyo 2020 is top of the list. Euro 2020 is second. I dare say if Ireland had already qualified for the Euros, that would be number 1.
Yeah.
Six Nations, then Senior Hurling Championship, then Senior Football Championship.
Senior Hurling Championship is a good bit clear, like 2 or 3% clear, is it?
3% clear of the Football Championship, yeah.
Because we all know what's going to happen. It's going to be Dublin Kerry final and that's it. Dublin Kerry in the
Super 8.
Same Super 8 side, and then obviously in the final again.
Mayo, though, are going to have a part to play. But Kieran MacDonald is back to the team.
No.
Sure, he went and spent a day with Leinster. James Horn went and spent a day with Leinster, so
they're going to be good at the break.
That means we're going to win the All-Ireland.
Yeah.
Good at the breakdown. Well, that's
Have you not caused enough trouble with Mayo in the last 24 hours? Literally, of course, you're going to go to as many different places as you can and suck in as much information as you possibly can.
I genuinely believe Mayo have a chance of winning the All-Ireland next year.
Yeah,
I genuinely believe that.
I can't take you seriously because you're smirking, right? It's just the
two of you are smirking.
Your resting bitch face, I believe, is how JP would refer to it. I just can't take you seriously.
I've got a very bad resting bitch face. I will give you that.
Yeah.
But I am being serious. Not Mayo for Sam, but Mayo to potentially sneak an All-Ireland final place next year.
Right.
I think they've got a good chance getting back there.
You done? We're done?
No, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
Enough trouble caused by Eoin Sheahan. We'll be causing more trouble tomorrow because we're live on air and online all day tomorrow from 7:30am all the way until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. It is the OTB Decade in a Day, live in the Go Loud app, offtheball.com and on YouTube as well. You should subscribe to the OTB AM podcast. It's fully timestamped, makes it easy to find out exactly what you want from this morning's 2-hour show. Remember, OTB AM, Ireland's first and only sports breakfast show. We're going to play out with this, the very latest in our series in association with the GAA. We're talking about the AIB Club Championships. We've been documenting 3 decades of success at Clonagale.
Funny, the fact that I'd be a lot younger than you two lads, that when I came into the scene, you would have had county titles under your belts at that stage, but we would have been training at underage level and would have been watching you training, and I remember thinking, yeah, this will be all right, we'll be able to step up to this. And then I remember when you got up to senior training, and you two in particular, young lads weren't spared. You were here on the night and you were here to train, and that was very much the team running through it at the time, that when you came here, you came to train, because you could do your socialising somewhere else, but when you came to Johnstown and talked out, there was no way out of it. You had to suffer or just don't be here.
I remember that 1982, after winning the beating Tour de Strand, I went from Ballinasloe to Dublin Hospital, and I came out, and the training started for the All-Ireland semi-final, and I sneaked out training every night here. Tony brought my gear, looked after my gear. My parents never knew I was training or anything. We played St. Gall's here on a snowy day, and my parents didn't think, I thought I was only going to matches, and I appeared at half time and came on and created a bit of a scene. Tony was nearly assaulted over it.
From back here, we started winning that All-Ireland semi-final. We were very, very lucky that day. St. Gall's were the better side. We robbed them, in fairness, that year. We weren't as good as St. Gall's, but we won the match.
It was absolute, Robbie. I remember I was only young at the time. I was actually a sub that time, and I remember the winning goal was scored down that end. I remember Eoin McManus robbed a guy coming out. The game was over. Galls had it won. They were celebrating in the stand, so they were, and their full back came out. I remember Eoin met him and hit him a shoulder, and the ball broke. And our centre forward, Martin McManus, won it at the time. He passed away since, Lord rest him, and he won it. And of course, Tony, you know, this idea of following guys back, well, he didn't follow anyone back, he just stayed inside. So as a result, when the ball broke down and Martin looked up, Tony was inside on his own, and he gave it into him. And in fairness, when it came to a 1-on-1, this guy rarely ever missed, and he scored that goal, and that started a dynasty, if you like, that went on for the next 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years. Like, you know, just on that particular goal changed so much. It brought us on to the next level. We had dominated at county, then we were doing well at Connacht, and then that brought us into national level.
OTB AM. This is OTB